Chapter 191. Under the guidance of the elder, Yi Tianyun followed into the general pavilion, passed through a long corridor, and soon came to a special corridor. The environment here is obviously different from the outside. There are divine runes engraved around here, which can be used to fight against enemies. As for the effect, it needs to be studied carefully to know. But Yi Tianyun has no interest in this, but he knows that this must be a very important place. The heavenly spiritual jade pond is in front. The elder took him to a gate not far away. There were 2 core condensation realm guards here. To be able to let a core condensation realm cultivator as a guard, this place can be regarded as a big deal. Elder Yun, what's the matter? The 2 guards asked. This is the Star Pavilion's Divine Rune Competition champion. He is here to exchange for the reward. Elder Yun took out the token and handed it over and said, "This is Pavilion Master Li's token, please check it. If you want to enter the heavenly spiritual jade pond, even Elder Yun can't enter at will. It shows how important this place is." The guard took the token. After checking it, he nodded and said, "Yes, this is indeed Pavilion Master Li's token. According to the reward rules, you can get 5 days inside." With that said, they pushed open the heavy door together. After opening a gap, a very rich spiritual power surged out from the inside, making Yi Tianyun feel comfortable. This degree of concentration is too strong, much stronger than the outside. Compared to the heavens immersing ancient ruins spirit gathering array, the difference is more than 10 times. When opening a gap that can accommodate 1 person, the guard urged, "Hurry up, we will open the door in 5 days and let you out. During this period, you can absorb as much as you want, it depends on your ability. But you can't touch the spirit herbs inside. If you pull them out, you will have to pay for them." Yi Tianyun nodded. Without saying a word, he immediately rushed in. After entering, the guard quickly closed the door, preventing the spiritual energy inside from leaking out. This is the heavenly spiritual jade pond. After entering, the first thing that came into view was a lake. The lake was quite vast, and the surroundings were filled with flowers and grasses. However, these flowers and grasses were not ordinary flowers and grasses, but spiritual herbs. From the looks of it, there were high and low grades. The high grade had reached the 5th grade, but the low grade was no lower than the 4th grade. They were excellent materials for refining 4th grade elixirs. Apart from these, there was nothing else, and no one else was here. Such dense spiritual energy, this is completely a spirit spring. Yi Tianyun looked over and his appraisal eye immediately revealed it. Heaven's spiritual jade pond, 5th grade spiritual vein spring, able to nurture 5th grade spiritual herbs. The spiritual force contained in it was extremely rich and suitable for cultivators within the spirit core stage to absorb. It had the effect of improving cultivation and strengthening spiritual force. 5 days. I can't waste it. Yi Tianyun didn't waste any time and jumped into the heaven's spiritual jade pool. The moment he jumped into the heaven's spiritual jade pool, the rich spiritual energy in the surroundings rushed into his body. He didn't need to absorb it at all, it had already rushed into his body. 500 EXP. 300 EXP. 460 EXP, this was the constant flow of EXP. He didn't need to move at will to obtain this EXP. This meant that he could lie here and sleep, and when he woke up, he might have more than 1,000,000 EXP. Of course, he wouldn't waste it like this. Even if it was 1,000,000 EXP, it was still a pitiful amount for him. Let's start absorbing. Crazy mode, activate. Yi Tianyun didn't waste any time. He activated crazy mode and continued to absorb the spiritual energy. Under the effect of absorbing Star's great technique, a huge vortex was formed around him, sucking in the spiritual energy and absorbing it into his body. 32,000 EXP, 35,000 EXP, 34,000 EXP. Under the 8 times EXP mode, his EXP suddenly exploded. He had EXP cards, but he was reluctant to use them. After all, they were too little for him, unless he leveled up. If he wanted to upgrade the intermediate Dark North Divine Art to a high-grade Earth-level martial art, he still needed a lot of EXP. The Absorbing Star's great technique was not in a hurry to upgrade, but the Dark North Divine Art was the source of EXP. Absorbing Star's great technique was just a simple absorption, but it couldn't be converted into EXP. The Dark North Divine Art was the main way to gain EXP immediately. Tianyun didn't pay any attention to it. He was immersed in cultivation, and his EXP continued to increase. At the same time, the consumption of Crazy Point was also a lot. Under the 8 times mode, the consumption of Crazy Point is also a lot. Because of this, he didn't dare to use Crazy Point at will. This thing is difficult to earn, and the consumption is very fast. In a blink of an eye, he had been absorbing for a full day, and finally, a beautiful voice came. Ding! Congratulations to player Tianyun, successfully leveled up to 7th level Spirit Core. The whole process was quite difficult. He gave up the 8 times crazy mode later. After all, it was calculated in minutes, and the consumption was still very high. If he could continue, the EXP would be quite considerable. However, he still chose to stop after a long period of time. Otherwise, it would take a long time for him to level up. Finally leveled up, let me see how the situation of the Dark North Divine Art is. He checked the proficiency of the Dark North Divine Art and found that the proficiency of the Dark North Divine Art is still more than 7,000. Just more than 7,000, and he can upgrade the Dark North Divine Art to the next level. Continue to absorb. Tianyun immediately sank his heart and madly absorbed the Dark North Divine Art to increase the proficiency. Time passed in a blink of an eye, and when he checked again, he found that the proficiency is more than 3,000. In a day, only more than 3,000 proficiency, isn't this a bit too much? This proficiency is not something that can be casually absorbed, but to absorb a certain amount, it can increase the corresponding proficiency. Otherwise, if I keep absorbing the outside sky, wouldn't I be able to level up? Forget it, time is running out, I'll just grit my teeth and buy a middle-grade Earth-level Dark North Divine Art. He opened the shop, and the middle-grade Earth-level Dark North Divine Art is lying in the shop, and the price is also quite eye-catching, 300,000 crazy point. Buy it. Tianyun gritted his teeth and chose to buy the middle-grade Earth-level Dark North Divine Art. It's not easy to have so much spiritual power here, he can't waste it. Soon, a middle-grade Earth-level martial art fell into the inventory, and he chose to integrate it. Ding! Successfully integrated Dark North Divine Art, gained 5,000 proficiency. Ding! Successfully upgraded Dark North Divine Art to high-grade Earth-level martial art, the absorption speed increased by 6 times. The next level requires 1 million proficiency. Chapter 192. After the upgrade of the Dark North Divine Art, it soared from the original 2 times to 6 times. The effect was quite amazing, a full 3 times increase. Immediately, he used all his strength and quickly absorbed. Originally, when he absorbed, a small vortex formed around him. Now it formed a huge vortex, and all the spiritual energy rushed into his body. 12,000 experience points, 13,000 experience points, 12,800 experience points, the throughput suddenly increased, reaching an unprecedented effect. However, Tianyun felt that it was not the limit, and the Dark North Divine Art could absorb more. The Absorbing Star's great technique can't keep up with the progress. The capacity of the Dark North Divine Art is too high, and the absorption speed is not as fast as the throughput of the Dark North Divine Art. Tianyun frowned, and then his eyes lit up. I almost forgot, didn't the Heaven-Devouring Divine Art drop before? That can enhance the effect. He immediately activated the Heaven-Devouring Divine Art. After activating it, he suddenly felt the surrounding spiritual power quickly sucking into his body. Suddenly, it was as if a whirlwind was blowing in the air, sweeping up the surrounding spiritual power, and then continuously pouring into his body. Originally, the heaven-devouring divine art was to absorb the surrounding power to enhance his own strength, but now he used it to extract spiritual energy. 23,000 experience points, 24,000 experience points, 22,000 experience points. All of a sudden, the experience soared by 10,000 experience points. And now the speed of absorption finally kept up with the absorption speed of the Dark North divine art. He did not need crazy mode at all to reach an amazing amount of experience. Crazy mode, activate. After activating the 8 times mode, the experience suddenly exploded. 180,000 experience points, 182,000 experience points, 183,000 experience points. Such a crazy EXP mode left him dumbfounded. As expected of the base increase, when it was doubled, the amount of EXP was naturally different. What are you waiting for? Let's make a fortune first. 20 times experience card, use. 10 times experience card, use. The only 2 experience cards he had were used, and the multiplier was suddenly stacked to 38 times experience value. 760,000 experience points, 770,000 experience points, 768,000 experience points. This experience was like a sudden clap of thunder, exploding in his ears. As the numbers increased crazily, he cried out in surprise. This was too awesome. Just this speed alone meant that leveling up would be much faster. Of course, the experience required wasn't low, but if he continued like this, he wouldn't have to worry about his level. At the same time that he felt comfortable, the spiritual power around him began to drain rapidly. It was being consumed much faster than before. This was the effect of the Dark North divine art. The absorption speed had increased, and it was much faster than when ordinary experts came in. The absorption was very crazy. Gradually, the liquid in the spirit vein became thinner, and then it was filled up by the rich liquid. However, based on the current situation, he would probably suck away more than half of the spirit vein. In the blink of an eye, a day had passed. Finally, he heard a pleasant voice. Congratulations to player Yi Tianyun for breaking through to level 8 Spirit Core stage. Finally, after 2 days, he successfully broke through to the 8th level Spirit Core stage. In the short span of 4 days, he had broken through 2 levels here, and it seemed that he could continue to advance. However, he didn't have any more experience cards to use. It would be too expensive to buy them. Finally leveled up, this speed is not bad. Yi Tianyun was satisfied. If others knew about this, they would definitely vomit blood. Breaking through 2 levels in such a short period of time was not bad. If it was them, they wouldn't be able to break through 1 level in a few years, let alone 2 levels. Those who had reached level 8 or level 8 Spirit Core stage were all at least 40 or 50 years old. They were definitely geniuses. Under normal circumstances, most of them were above 80 or 90 years old, and some of them couldn't even reach that level in their lifetime. By the way, I still have 1 more lucky draw. If I get an experience card, I will use it here. He didn't have any experience card now, so if he got 1 from the lucky draw, it would be best to use it here. Immediately, he activated the lucky aura and the enhanced lucky roulette. It was no different from the previous roulette, and under his control, it began to spin quickly. The pointer kept pointing at the values on the roulette, and it was rolling crazily. He had calmed down. As for what he got, it was up to him. Soon, the pointer stopped and steadily fell on the special item. Gulp, a box fell into his inventory, causing him to be stunned. A special item, second only to a divine skill? He didn't expect to get such a special item. The special item he got before was the 100 transformation mask. Now that he had the enhanced lucky roulette, he didn't know what kind of special items he could get. Immediately, he opened the box, and something appeared in front of him. Phoenix wings. Phoenix wings, cannot be leveled up, decoration, after equipping, can fly. If you can fly, your flying speed will be increased by 3 times. Good stuff. Yi Tianyun was shocked. He didn't expect to get phoenix wings. Even if he didn't reach core transformation stage, he could still fly. Even if he could fly after breaking through to core transformation stage, his flying speed would be increased by 3 times. In this way, I can fly, and I can escape during normal times. With the help of teleportation, who can fight with me? Tianyun smiled and walked to the side a few times. Suddenly, his feet slipped, and before he could react, he sank to the bottom of the water. When he sank to the bottom of the water, he wanted to get up, but he found that he had fallen into a tunnel and was sucked down by a torrent. After going around in circles, he felt that he was about to get dizzy, and he felt that he was being thrown out. After being thrown out, he felt that there was no pressure from the water around him, and he felt that his body was relaxed. After spinning a few times in the air, he quickly landed on the ground. He looked up and saw a secret chamber made of white jade. There was a jade door in front of him, and it looked very strange. What's going on? Tianyun turned his head and looked behind him. He found that there was a hole that kept flowing out. Obviously, he came out from there. I need to turn off the lucky aura quickly. He was stunned, and immediately turned off the lucky aura. After turning off the lucky aura, his heart skipped a beat. Could it be that this lucky aura caused me to be so lucky that I was sent here? Chapter 193. Before Tianyun could think about anything else, he found that the hole that he came out of had suddenly flowed back. This meant that if he wanted to come down from above, it would be very difficult to come down unless he forced his way in. It seems that it's really caused by the lucky aura. In the future, whenever I go to a special place, I have to activate the lucky aura to check. Tianyun licked his lips. He didn't expect to find a secret room like this. It seemed that it was not simple. It was not surprising that there was such an amazing secret room under such a spiritual vein. It seemed that the Star Pavilion didn't know that there was a secret room here. If there was a secret room, it would have been heavily guarded. Looking around carefully, it was overgrown with weeds. It was obvious that no one had been here for a long time. I just got the phoenix wings and now I've entered such a good place. My luck is really good. Tianyun grinned and put away the phoenix wings. This was a life-saving thing. Although he had the black dragon pet that could fly, what if the black dragon was stopped? The most important thing was speed. With the phoenix wings, his escape speed increased by 3 times. Unless it was a powerhouse with a much higher cultivation than him, it would be impossible to catch up with him. After putting it away, he looked around again. Although it was overgrown with weeds, there were also a lot of elixirs. It was the same here as the outside, full of spiritual power, so it was full of elixirs. He didn't stand on ceremony at all. Without hesitation, he put them all into his inventory. They were all a bunch of 4th and 5th grade elixirs. Of course, he couldn't miss them. After cleaning up, there was nothing around except for the jade door in front of him. When he came to the jade door, he knocked on the door gently and shouted symbolically, "Is anyone there?" After shouting, there was no other phenomenon except for his own echo. He raised his hand and pushed gently. The jade door opened without much effort. With a rumbling sound, the jade door opened to both sides. At the same time, a chill came from inside, causing him to narrow his eyes. He didn't know what was inside. Since he was here, he couldn't not go in and take a look, right? There won't be any traps inside, right? Tianyun lifted his foot and walked in. As soon as he walked in, the surrounding jade stones immediately lit up. It was as if a lamp had been lit up, illuminating the entire passageway. There was not a single blind spot. Moreover, this light was much brighter than the night pearl, and it was not dazzling. Jade Spirit Stone, a highly concentrated spirit stone that contains 3 times the spiritual power of a normal spirit stone. That's a big deal. They actually used the Jade Spirit Stone to start this secret room. Tianyun thought for a moment and felt relieved. This was one of the spiritual veins. It was not surprising that they could use the jade spirit stone to start this secret room. However, he did not intend to dismantle it. Only the heavens knew what was inside the wall. If there were any traps, then he would suffer a great loss. In the face of the unknown, it was best to maintain a respectful heart. If one was too greedy for everything, they would definitely die the fastest. As he went deeper, it didn't take him long to walk into a room. It was much colder here than outside, but it wasn't frozen. However, it was enough to add a layer of frost to his clothes. If an ordinary person was here, they would have already frozen to death. When he looked up, he saw a coffin in front of him. However, it was a crystal coffin. He only needed to look up to clearly see that there was a woman lying in the crystal coffin. Someone's here. Yi Tianyun walked over. There was really a woman lying in the crystal coffin. She was extremely beautiful. There was even a touch of red on her fair face. She looked very good, as if she was lying in the crystal coffin and sleeping soundly. She was wearing a white dress. She was spread out in the crystal coffin. There were also white lotus flowers around her. After a little investigation, he found that these white lotus flowers were the relatively rare heavenly ice snow lotus. This was a 5th grade elixir. Under normal circumstances, it was very difficult to find it. However, there were dozens of them spread out on the side. A faint fragrance floated from inside, making people feel a little tranquil. This woman looked like she was sleeping soundly, but in fact, she was already dead. Yi Tianyun could not feel any signs of life from her body. She was really dead. However, he did not see any wounds on her body. I didn't expect it to be a dead person, Yi Tianyun frowned. He did not expect to find a dead person here. However, this woman's body could be preserved very well. The spiritual energy here was very dense. It must be the central area of the spiritual vein. With such dense spiritual energy and the heavenly ice snow lotus, this woman's body could be preserved for a long time, unless the spiritual vein collapsed. Immediately, Yi Tianyun closed his eyes. He put his hands together and bowed lightly. I didn't mean to intrude, please don't mind. He did not open the crystal coffin. Instead, he turned his head to look at other places. Although there was something good in the crystal coffin, he would not touch it. Some things were better left untouched. After walking one round, he saw a line of words on the wall in front of him: Snow lotus blooms, life is reborn. Snow lotus blooms, life is reborn. What does this mean? Yi Tianyun frowned. He looked back and found that the heavenly ice snow lotus in the crystal coffin was indeed about to be opened. It was blooming slowly. Although it was slow, it was still blooming. These heavenly ice snow lotuses were not buried in the ground. They were just placed in the crystal coffin to bloom. This was strange. Could it be that when the heavenly ice snow lotus blooms, she will wake up? It can't be, it's that magical. Yi Tianyun thought for a while. He felt that it was better to leave as soon as possible. Apart from the crystal coffin, there was nothing else here. Who knew what would happen if she woke up? I should leave quickly. It's good enough that I can come in and see. Just as he was about to leave, a soft murmur came from the crystal coffin. He turned his head to look at the crystal coffin as if he had seen a ghost. He saw that the beautiful woman was really about to wake up. Her eyelashes were trembling, as if she was about to wake up at any time. Should I leave or not? Yi Tianyun's feet were nailed to the ground. He did not know if he should leave or not. She had already woken up. As long as there was no danger to him, there shouldn't be any big problems, right? Who knows, there might be some other opportunities. While he was thinking, the woman had already woken up. She slowly opened her eyes. Her light blue eyes were like gems that had reappeared in the sky, emitting a faint blue light. Then, she slowly pushed the crystal coffin open and sat up. Chapter 194. The woman stretched her body as if she had just woken up. Her aura was immediately restored, unlike before when she had no aura at all. She was like a living person. At this moment, the woman turned around and happened to see him. Their eyes met. Yi Tianyun didn't know what to say. Immediately, the woman smiled. She looked quite beautiful, like a fairy descending to the world, with a bit of immortal qi. However, Yi Tianyun was already immune to this. He just didn't know what to say. "Brother, you're here." The woman smiled. "Brother, what brother?" Yi Tianyun turned his head and looked behind him. There was no one behind him. He was the only one in the room. "Brother, what are you talking about? Aren't you my brother?" The woman climbed out of the crystal coffin and said with a smile, "Every time I wake up, you're the one guarding me." "What? I'm guarding you?" Yi Tianyun said awkwardly, "This. I'm sorry, miss. I'm really not your brother. I'm just passing by. No one has been here for a long time. I don't know what's going on." "Brother, don't joke around. You're making me happy again." The woman jumped over. Perhaps she had slept for too long. Her body went limp and she fell towards him. Fortunately, Yi Tianyun reacted quickly. He quickly supported the woman. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine." "Brother, where are we going now?" The woman smiled. Her blue eyes met his. To Yi Tianyun, it was like looking at a blue ocean. "Are we going home?" "Miss. I'm really not your brother. You've mistaken me for someone else." After helping her up, Yi Tianyun let go to avoid any misunderstandings. "How is that possible? You are my brother." "Brother, you are making fun of me again." Just as she was about to continue speaking, she frowned and reached out to hold her head. "It hurts, my head hurts so much, miss, are you okay?" Yi Tianyun looked her up and down. He was too embarrassed to support her. After all, men and women shouldn't touch each other. If she found out that he wasn't her brother, wouldn't she chop him into pieces? Through the appraisal Yi Tianyun found out that Yi Tianyun's cultivation was not low. Yi Tianyun's cultivation had reached the 5th level of core transformation stage. This young man, who was not much older than him and about the same age as his aunt, was actually at the core transformation stage. You are not my brother." The woman clutched her head and said in pain. "Of course I'm not your brother. I said that from the beginning." Yi Tianyun hurriedly said. Then who am I?" The woman frowned, clutching her head as she half knelt on the ground. It was as if the intense pain in her head was unbearable. "Miss, you." Yi Tianyun looked up and saw the heavenly ice snow lotus in the crystal coffin. He hurriedly took it out and then placed it on her head. Following that, a faint ice-cold aura flowed into her head. After that, the woman's condition slightly stabilized. It was obvious that she had just woken up and her memory was in a mess. "Thank you." The woman's condition slightly stabilized. She picked up the heavenly ice snow lotus and smelled it. Her condition had stabilized a lot. "I remember a little, I am Renjiro, from, she frowned. The more she thought about it, the more she couldn't remember. The more she thought about it, the more painful it was. "It's good that you can remember a little. You can think about the rest slowly." Yi Tianyun comforted her. At least she could remember her name. If she didn't know anything, he really didn't know what to say. "Brother, my head hurts." Renjiro fell into his arms. She still felt the pain in her head. Just a moment ago, she clearly said that he was not her brother, and now it was happening again. Yi Tianyun felt a little speechless. He picked her up again and placed her in the crystal coffin. "Lie down here for a while. You just woke up, so your memory is a bit messy." Renjiro nodded and lay down. She smelled the heavenly ice snow lotus. She felt a little better. Yi Tianyun didn't go out. Instead, he chose to sit on the side. There was a spirit spring coming from the side. The design of this place was very ingenious. There were several canals dug around the room. This way, the spirit spring would cover the entire area, filling this place with dense spirit energy. He used this place to continue to absorb the spirit spring like crazy. He couldn't waste it. It was not easy to come in here for 5 days. How could he waste this time? This was a good opportunity to earn EXP. If he missed it, he didn't know when he would get another chance. This is a good place. I can't waste it. After I go out, I will ask how to come in here to absorb such a rich spirit spring. How could he miss such a huge amount of EXP? The effect of this spirit spring was relatively weak for core transformation stage cultivators, so it was suitable for spirit core stage cultivators to absorb. However, even if it was suitable for spirit core stage cultivators to absorb, they couldn't casually absorb it. If they absorbed it crazily, it would eventually dry up. Therefore, this place was strictly controlled by the Star Pavilion. Not everyone could come in. The number of days was also very strict. Under such circumstances, he kept a close eye on Renjiro's condition. Fortunately, Renjiro's condition was not as bad as before. She gradually stabilized and was not as painful as before. However, it was almost time. Almost 5 days had passed. When the time came, he would have to go out. He couldn't stay here forever, right? Fortunately, he didn't have to wait for too long. Renjiro climbed up again and said, "Brother, I am much better. When are we going back?" "Miss Ren, I am really not your brother." Yi Tianyun explained many times. She still thought of him as her brother. "Big brother, you're making fun of me again," Renjiro said, taking his words as a joke. "Well, I am your brother." Yi Tianyun was almost driven crazy. He could only nod and accept his fate. "Do you know where you will live?" "I don't remember where I will live." "Brother, don't you remember?" Renjiro was puzzled. "I don't know." Yi Tianyun cursed in his heart. How would he know? He immediately stood up and said, "How would I remember? Time is almost up. Let's leave this place first." Renjiro nodded. Her condition was much better now. She climbed out of the crystal coffin easily. Under Yi Tianyun's lead, they walked to the outermost exit. Just as they were about to leave through the exit, Renjiro asked, "Brother, aren't we going to leave from here?" She pointed to the pool over there and looked at Yi Tianyun in confusion. "We can leave from there." Yi Tianyun thought for a moment. He listened to Renjiro and jumped into the pool. They swam along the passage and soon reached the outermost exit. When they came out, they found that it was connected to a small pond. This small pond did not have any spiritual energy. It was a very ordinary pond. It was no wonder that no one had discovered this secret passage. This was a relatively remote place. In this way, won't I be able to go back and absorb spiritual power whenever I want? Yi Tianyun was delighted. If this was the case, he didn't need to ask how to enter. He could go around and enter through this passage. Chapter 195. After Yi Tianyun learned about the other channel, he was happy and decided to come back next time to absorb this spiritual vein. If he continues to absorb like this, it won't be a problem for him to break through to the peak of Spirit Core stage. Then he can use the upgrade tool to easily break through to the core transformation stage. He still had an item that he hadn't used yet, and it was effective for cultivators within the Spirit Core stage. He definitely won't use it immediately, he will wait until he is at the peak of Spirit Core stage. When he reaches a higher level, he will need more EXP, so the upgrade tool will undoubtedly be the most effective. The reward for fighting above his level is not bad, but the price he has to pay is also relatively high. You stay here for a while, I will come back to find you later. Don't run around, understand? Yi Tianyun said. I know, brother. Renjiro nodded and didn't say that she would follow him. She chose a place to sit down and frowned as if she was thinking about something. She just woke up from a deep sleep and didn't know how long she slept, so it was normal for her to have some confusion in her memory. However, since the opponent can hurt a core transformation stage cultivator, she believes that the opponent is obviously more terrifying. After seeing that everything was fine, Yi Tianyun jumped into the water and quickly swam back to the original place. Without hesitation, he rushed into the hole and was immediately sprayed out along with the spring water. In the blink of an eye, he was sprayed out of the water just like before. Because there was a lake outside, he didn't get sprayed out like before. Just as he came out, he heard someone calling him. "Young Master Yi, where are you? It's time, hurry up and come out of the water." Elder Yun shouted for him from above, and soon, he emerged from the water. "You finally came out, it's time, hurry up and go out." Elder Yun saw Yi Tianyun swim out of the water and was relieved. "Sorry, I was too engrossed in cultivation just now." Yi Tianyun casually found an excuse. "Young Master Yi, you have actually absorbed a lot. If you continue to absorb like this place will be sucked dry by you." Elder Yun's helpless tone was mixed with a hint of surprise. Yi Tianyun looked back and found that a lot of the spiritual power in this area had been sucked away. The whole lake had become thin, and it was almost like the water in a lake. If he continued to absorb it like this, he would definitely be sucked into an ordinary lake. "I didn't absorb much of this either." Yi Tianyun shrugged his shoulders. He felt that the amount here was not much. No wonder there was such a strict restriction. Moreover, this place had already been used up quite a bit in the past. Now that he had absorbed a bit of it, it was basically all gone. He did not know how long it would take for him to recover a little. The Heaven's spiritual jade pool isn't like before. It'll be gone after a while. Even so, your speed is a bit too fast. It looks like it's about to become clear, Elder Yun said with a sigh. Under Elder Yun's lead, they left this place. Soon after, the door was closed once again. "Elder Yun, what price do I have to pay to enter the Heaven's spiritual jade pool?" Yi Tianyun asked. "You still want to go in?" Elder Yun smiled and said, "But most cultivators like this kind of cultivation place, so the price is relatively high. Generally speaking, a mid-grade soul tool can be exchanged for 2 days, and a low-grade soul tool can only be exchanged for half a day. This price is still acceptable." Yi Tianyun could not refine a mid-grade soul tool, but it was not a problem for him to refine a low-grade soul tool. He just needed to throw 10 of them over, and they would be able to enter the Heaven's spiritual jade pool to absorb. The price is indeed not very expensive, but the spiritual power inside is limited. It can only last for 10 days at most. Elder Yun said helplessly, "The recovery speed is much slower than before. If we want to restore the normal amount, it will take a few months. It seems that the situation in the Heaven's spiritual jade pool is not good anymore." Yi Tianyun shook his head. It seemed that even if he found another entrance, he would not be able to absorb it for too long. The only valuable thing was that secret chamber, which was built with spiritual jade stones. He believed that the experience points contained in it would not be too little. Yes, otherwise, the restrictions would not be so strict. Without special contributions, you really can't go in. Elder Yun smiled and said, "Therefore, young Master Yi can stay in there for 5 days. This is already a very big reward. The others are very envious." Yi Tianyun nodded his head. This reward for the first place was really good, much better than the other rewards. "Oh, by the way, Pavilion Master Li told me to give this to you after you come out." Elder Yun took out a token and handed it over, saying, "This is the guest token. He hopes that you can become the Star Pavilion's guest token. You don't need to do anything." Yi Tianyun pondered for a moment and immediately accepted, "Well, I will be the guest token." Although he did not have a good impression of the Zhu family, the situation of the general pavilion here was not bad. At least they treated him well. It was not a problem to make friends with them. After all, in the heavenly boundary continent, the Star Pavilion's status was not low. Guest E, welcome to our Star Pavilion. Elder Yun congratulated, from now on, you are our Star Pavilion's youngest guest token. That is really my honor. Tianyun smiled. This was not unexpected. At his age, there were not many divine runes that could be compared to him. It was normal to become the youngest guest token. Pavilion Master Li also said that if you are willing to become a guest token, you can stay here to attend the VIP banquet. How about it? Elder Yun said with a smile. I am sorry, I still have things to do. Tianyun said apologetically. Well, in that case, I will not disturb you anymore. If it's possible, you can participate after a period of time, probably in the next month. Elder Yun smiled and said, this is a very grand VIP banquet. It is hosted by several third-grade forces. I heard that the Netherworld Empire will also come. This is a rare opportunity, so if Guest E has nothing to do, please try to attend. Netherworld Empire? Tianyun squinted his eyes. This is an extremely domineering empire. He even came to attend this VIP dinner. This is a bit interesting. Yes, the Netherworld Empire sent a minister. It seems that he has something important to announce. Elder Yun thought for a moment, then smiled and said, so if Guest E can come, it will be a pity if he can't. Chapter 196. After saying goodbye, Tianyun quickly returned to the bamboo forest. When he saw Renjiro still sitting there, he heaved a sigh of relief. However, when he looked up, he saw two strong men lying on the ground in the distance. It seemed that they were seriously injured. What the hell happened? Tianyun asked. Brother, those two people came and wanted to take me away. They said that I was lost and wanted to take me to his house. Renjiro clenched her fists when she saw Tianyun. I said no, they wanted to take me away. So I fought back and they became like this. Did I do something wrong? She revealed a pitiful and delicate look. It was really pitiful. Who would have thought that under such a pitiful expression, she was actually at the 5th layer of core transformation stage. They met some hooligans. Tianyun expressed his sympathy for the two men. Why did they come to Renjiro? This place was indeed a bit remote. The two hooligans must have been attracted by her beauty and wanted to take her home by force. Who would have thought that they would encounter such a tragedy? Anyway, let's go back first. Tianyun nodded at her and led her to the place where Yue and Tianyun were staying. He had told them in advance that he would come to the Star Pavilion to get the reward and cultivate in the celestial spiritual jade pool for 5 days. Now that they were going back, they were going to be accompanied by one more person. Did you think of anything? Tianyun asked casually. I don't think I can think of anything. Renjiro tilted her head and frowned, but she still couldn't think of anything. Don't worry, take your time. Tianyun felt helpless and could only continue to lead Renjiro away. When he returned to the place where they were staying, he found that something was wrong. He couldn't feel the breath of Yue and Yushuan. His heart sank and he quickly ran to their place. As soon as he arrived, he saw that their place was in a mess. The door was smashed and there were obvious signs of a fight. His face immediately darkened and became quite unsightly. He glanced at the place. It was obvious that some martial artist had broken in and taken everyone away. He looked down and saw a line of words carved on the ground, if you want to save someone, come to Falling Rain alone. There was no signature or too much information, but he had already thought of a few candidates in his mind. Currently, the ones who had some enmity with him were none other than Lin Li and Patriarch Wang. Patriarch Wang, Lin Li. Tianyun's gaze was cold, and his tone was sinister. If anything happens to them, I will bury your entire Wang clan with them. He was completely infuriated. The person who could capture Yue and the rest by any means necessary was undoubtedly Lin Li. Besides him, no one else would be so resentful to actually choose to capture Yue and the others to threaten him. Looking at the traces of fighting, it was clear that they hadn't left for too long, which meant that nothing would have happened. "Brother, what's wrong?" Renjiro saw the cold look on Yi Tianyun's face. "I'm going to kill someone." "Are you coming?" Yi Tianyun asked in a low voice. "Yes. Brother, wherever you want to go, I will go." Renjiro smiled. "All right, let's go now." After that, he equipped the phoenix wings and flew high into the air with Renjiro in tow. He flew swiftly towards the falling rain, and his speed instantly soared to the limit. In order to save Yue and the others, he could not afford to waste any time. Moreover, there was no one around, and no one would notice what was happening here. Yi Tianyun flew to a remote corner of falling rain as fast as he could, then quickly landed and retracted the phoenix wings. After he came down, his powerful mind power immediately enveloped the entire mountain. In his fury, his mind power was completely unleashed and thoroughly explored every corner of the falling rain mountain. Soon, he easily found the captured Yue and the others. They were all trapped in a cave, and there were 3 people guarding them. Naturally, Yi Tianyun knew one of them. It was Lin Li. Even if he turned into ashes, Yi Tianyun would still recognize Lin Li. After locking on to the area, he quickly rushed over. Just as he reached the entrance of the cave, he heard cries coming from inside. "Try moving again. So annoying, I really want to slap them to death." Wang Shui was quite dissatisfied. "Let's wait for that kid to come. After we finish him off, you can do whatever you want with these people." Lin Li's voice came from inside. "Young Master Lin, that kid's cultivation is so weak. You think too highly of him if you do it yourself. Don't you think you're overestimating him by asking us to help?" Wang Qing's tone was quite disdainful. He felt that one person was more than enough to deal with Yi Tianyun. "I suspect that the kid has helpers. I believe that a kid who can reach such a level must have guards with him." Lin Li was quite cautious, but he was also quite angry. "That kid has helpers. No matter what, we'll stay here and catch all his people. I don't believe that he won't come." Wang Shui snorted coldly. "What do you want to do to Elder Yi?" Yue's cold voice came. "Hey, what do you think we're going to do to him?" "Oh, he's an elder. Such a young elder, but he's going to die in our hands soon." Wang Qing laughed sinisterly. "That kid is quite lucky with women. These 2 are the flowers of the Zhu family. We're not from the Zhu family for a long time. Our surname is Yi." Yue and the others corrected them, and then said coldly, "Elder Yi won't come, so all of you should just give up on this idea. Kill or torture, do as you wish." Yue's tone was firm. She would not choose to compromise. "If he doesn't come, then I'll enjoy the taste of the woman he likes." Lin Li's voice was cold. He had already reached the end of his patience with Yi Tianyun. Since he could not deal with him openly, he could only play dirty tricks. Yue and the others' faces instantly turned pale. Thinking that they were going to be tainted, they might as well just die. "Is that so? I'd like to see if you have the life to enjoy it." Yi Tianyun's figure flashed in silently from outside. This gave them a shock. It was too sudden, and they did not sense it at all. Elder Yi. When Yue saw Yi Tianyun, she was surprised and worried at the same time. They could see that the 3 of them had strong cultivation. Yi Tianyun looked up and saw that Ming Yi, Yue, and the others were completely tied up except for some bruises on their arms. Other than that, they were all fine. Only then did he heave a sigh of relief. However, the words of Lin Li and the others made him furious. They were indeed brothers. They were all the same, a bunch of scum. "You came so fast. Don't tell me you brought help this time. If you did, don't blame us for being rude." Wang Shui chuckled. He took out a dagger and waved it at Yi Yue and the others' faces. This meant that if Yi Tianyun moved, he would stab them. Chapter 197. So what if we threaten you? Wang Qing sneered, now both of them are in our hands, obediently surrender, or you will die. Elder Yi, don't listen to them, if you surrender, then everything will be over. Yi Yuxuan and Yi Yue shouted. Really, if you don't surrender, then you will be finished. Wang Qing turned his head and looked at Yi Tianyun, my elder Yi, why don't you surrender? To be able to become an elder, your cultivation should not be low, right? Core condensation. Reaching this level of cultivation at such a young age is not bad. Their cultivation is also in the core condensation level, and Wang Shui is in the spirit core level, so he said that Lin Li is too cautious. I will surrender. Don't hurt the two of them. Yi Tianyun's voice is extremely cold, if anger can be spat out, this place would have already turned into hell. He looked at the three people in front of him, Lin Li's cultivation is still at the second level of core condensation. Wang Shui and Wang Qing are two brothers, deacon and elder of the Wang family, their cultivation is more amazing. Really, I don't believe this, I advise you not to act rashly, otherwise, don't blame us for being merciless. Wang Shui still kept the dagger pointed at their necks, motioning Wang Qing to check. Lin Li waved his hand, motioning them not to move, he has already used his mental power to explore the situation outside, inside, and outside, but did not find any signs of hiding. There is no one outside, but I don't know if there is anyone far away. Lin Li is very sure, his mental power is not weak, unless the cultivation is very high, otherwise, he can easily explore. He thinks that the biggest backer of Yi Tianyun is only the Zhu family, except for the Zhu family head, the rest of the elders' cultivation is the same as Wang Shui, so even if they fight, they can retreat, there is no need to worry. Yo, looks like you're quite daring. You really came alone. Wang Qing nodded and walked over. He looked at Yi Tianyun and sneered, I advise you not to escape. If you escape, we can't guarantee their survival. He walked over as he spoke, already prepared to erupt at any time. He didn't believe that Yi Tianyun could escape from his hands. I won't run. As long as you let them go, I'll let you do whatever you want to me. Yi Tianyun stared at Wang Qing and said. Elder Yi, don't believe them. They will kill you. Hurry up and run. Yi Yue shouted loudly, not caring about their own lives. Pa! She was slapped by Lin Li, but Yi Yuxuan had already blocked it. Lin Li's slap landed on her shoulder, but because it was too heavy, it still caused her to break out in cold sweat from the pain. Don't hit my sister. Yi Yuxuan's eyes were cold. Even at this moment, she could still protect her sister. What a good sisterly love, but isn't she still a bitch? I heard that she was abandoned before getting married. It seems like the Zhu family has no value in raising you. The other party doesn't like you at all. Lin Li sneered and looked at Yi Tianyun. He smiled and said, run if you can. I can't guarantee what I will do. Don't make a move. I said I won't run. Yi Tianyun's voice was cold, and his heart was filled with killing intent. At this moment, Wang Qing rushed over and grabbed Yi Tianyun. He locked his hands so that he couldn't move. Young Master Lin, I've already caught him. He can't escape. Wang Qing laughed. It was quite easy, and there was no difficulty. Very well, bring him to me. Lin Li sneered, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. Yi Tianyun was also brought over. There was no despair in his eyes, and they were still filled with killing intent. I've been caught. Let them go, Yi Tianyun said calmly. Lin Li and the others looked at each other, and then burst into laughter. Their laughter was so sarcastic, as if they were looking at a clown. It was so ignorant. Young Master Lin, this kid really believes it. Wang Shui laughed and let go of the dagger that was aimed at Yi Yue and the others. It was no longer necessary. At this moment, Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed with a bit of light. Brother, you can't say that to him. It proves that his heart is very pure, and he just doesn't understand the evil in this world. He. Wang Qing, who was holding Yi Tianyun, laughed along, and almost cried. Those who say this kind of words are completely those who haven't seen the world, and now in their eyes, Yi Tianyun is this kind of person. Lin Li sneered, looked at Yi Tianyun, and said, playing tricks in front of me. So what if your talent in divine inscriptions is not bad? You are still in my hands, and I can do whatever I want with you. Immediately, he raised his palm and slapped Yi Tianyun's face. He was not in a hurry to kill Yi Tianyun, but to humiliate him first. Crazy mode, activate. Boom. 8 times the strength exploded in an instant, and in an instant, his battle power exploded to more than 3 million. His body shook violently, and Wang Qing, who was holding him, was sent flying and hit the wall. Immediately after, he kicked Lin Li's body with lightning speed. Bang! He was kicked to the stone wall, and after spitting out a mouthful of blood, he slid down the stone wall and almost fainted. Yi Tianyun's kick is too fierce, but he still held back. Yi Tianyun naturally doesn't want to kick him to death. You little brat, go to hell. Wang Qing, who was freed, was shocked. He quickly took out a dagger, and aimed at Yi Tianyun's back. Immediately after, a shadow descended, turned around and kicked at Wang Qing. The shadow didn't even pause in its movements as it kicked at Wang Qing heavily. Wang Qing hurriedly reached out to block, but how could he resist the strength of a spirit core stage? Boom! Wang Qing was sent flying by a kick. However, this kick wasn't light at all. It directly broke his arm, and he let out a miserable cry as he was sent flying. Then, he quickly rushed to Wang Shui. Wang Shui reacted quickly, and hurriedly turned to Yi Yuxuan and the others, wanting to use them as a shield. But a scorching flame had already been printed on his back. Not knowing when, Yi Tianyun had flashed behind him, and slapped him hard. Apart from the power that had been pushed to the limit, the inextinguishable flame had also been poured into his body. The terrible flame quickly burned in his body, and accompanied by a scream, the flame quickly and crazily swallowed the meridians in his body. In the blink of an eye, a large area was burned, and even the flame came out of the surface of his body. Your flame. Wang Shui was shocked. He felt that the internal organs in his body were burning. He hurriedly used his power to suppress the flame, but it was meaningless. The terrible immortal fire quickly swallowed him. Get out of here. Yi Tianyun rushed up and kicked him. Boom! Wang Shui was kicked away, and his chest was sunken. Originally, he was burned by the flame, and now he was kicked again. It was hard not to die. Ding! Successfully killed Wang Shui. Reward, 150,000 EXP, 2,400 crazy point. Obtained martial arts sky flipping step. Obtained item, broken heaven sword. The system's voice came, proving that he was completely dead. Yi Tianyun quickly untied their rope. This is an upper-grade spirit tool, ordinary rope cannot bind them. Elder Yi, it's all our fault for bringing trouble to you. Yi Yue said apologetically. Chapter 198. Yi Yuxuan and Yi Yuxuan looked at Renjiro, who was standing beside them. They were stunned by her beauty. She looked like a fairy, which made them feel inferior. This is the first time Yi Yue saw someone who is on the same level as Shi Xueyan, but now she is standing next to Yi Tianyun. This made her feel very shocked. It had only been a few days, how could there be such a celestial woman with Elder Yi? Who are you? Lin Li looked at Renjiro in shock, he didn't even see how this person came in. The most important thing is that she is so beautiful, it makes him mad with jealousy. This is none of your business. Yi Tianyun first turned around and walked in front of Wang Qing. He was kicked to the point that he can't move, it seems like he is dying. You want to threaten them, right? You want to kill them? I think you should die first. After saying that, he raised his hand and tossed out an inextinguishable flame. When it landed on Wang Qing's body, it ignited him. Miserable shrieks rang out continuously, but the heavily injured Wang Qing could no longer move. Ding, successfully killed Wang Qing, gained 250,000 EXP, 3400 crazy point. Obtained martial art cloud palm, heaven flipping step. Lin Li's eyes are full of fear, their life and death have nothing to do with him, he doesn't want to die. Now it's your turn. Yi Tianyun turned his head and looked at Lin Li, who is lying on the ground. Lin Li has quickly taken a recovery pill. In addition to resentment, there is more fear in his eyes. He didn't expect Yi Tianyun's strength to be so strong, and the helper he brought is even more terrifying. Yi Tianyun killed Wang Qing in one move, a spirit core expert. This means that such a young woman's cultivation is stronger than Wang Qing. He remembered that it is impossible for the Zhu family to have such a strong person, unless the patriarch comes in person. But how can the patriarch become Yi Tianyun's personal bodyguard? Let me go, I will not pursue this matter anymore. I am a member of Divine Rune Mansion, you know what kind of force you have to face. I'm a core disciple of the Divine Inscription Manor. If you kill me, you'll become an enemy of the Divine Inscription Manor. Lin Li looked at Renjiro and the others. He had no chance of escaping, so he could only beg for mercy. Divine Inscription Manor. Yi Tianyun coldly laughed. If I kill you here, do you think the Divine Inscription Manor will know? They will find out. As long as you let me go, I will definitely not pursue this matter. I will even recommend you to join the Divine Inscription Manor and let you become a core disciple. Lin Li kept throwing out tempting conditions, and even kept mentioning the Divine Inscription Manor, which was one of the top forces in the Heavenly Boundary continent. Join the Divine Rune Manor. But I'm not interested at all. And can your words be trusted? I'm sure I'll be dead the moment I enter the Divine Inscription Manor. Yi Tianyun said indifferently, there's something I have to say to you. You have to pay for what you have done. Let me return these words to you. Yi Tianyun would never be lenient to his enemies. What about reforming? What about being merciful? What about biting the hand that fed him? He was not a saint. He had always been a person who would not offend others if they didn't offend him. Lin Li's expression was extremely ugly. He knew that it was impossible for Yi Tianyun to let him go. Yes, if you have the ability, wait for me to recover. Let's have a fair duel, regardless of life or death. At this time, Lin Li was still making a last-ditch struggle. Oh, you can even say such words. Those two helpers just now, what's up with them? Yi Tianyun's eyes were cold. Some people were especially despicable. Usually, they especially loved to find excuses, such as gang fights, or when they were not strong enough, they would say one-on-one. If they lost one-on-one, they would say that their condition was not good. What was the point of making a bunch of excuses? It would only show their cowardice. I'm asking you, do you dare to fight one-on-one with me? If you're a man, then fight one-on-one with me. Lin Li stood up. He had previously taken a recovery elixir and recovered a little. Provocation. Yi Tianyun said calmly, don't worry, I accept your challenge. Then she can't do anything. This is a duel of life and death. Lin Li said coldly. Don't worry, I don't need her help to deal with trash like you. As long as you kill me, you can get out of here alive. Yi Tianyun's eyes were cold. When he thought of what Lin Li said just now, he wanted to kill Lin Li with his own hands. As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Li had already rushed forward. A long sword appeared in his hand. He aimed at Yi Tianyun and stabbed it fiercely. The silvery shadow was extremely dazzling in this pitch-black cave. The light from the sword shone directly into Yi Tianyun's eyes, forming a blinding effect. Sword of sharpness. Go to hell. His eyes were cold, and his handsome face was distorted. He looked very ferocious. Lin Li attacked without hesitation. The sharp sword in his hand was aimed at Yi Tianyun's throat. He wanted to kill him in one hit. He would not hold back. Every move was a killing move, and every move was meant to kill. It was impossible to see that he was injured. The power that burst out was his peak power. This was related to the elixir that he had just consumed. It could quickly heal his injuries and stimulate his potential. Most importantly, Yi Tianyun had spared his life. Otherwise, no matter what elixir he had, it would be useless. Wang Qing and the rest were the best examples. They were crippled with just one kick. They did not even have the strength to take out elixirs. Facing Lin Li who was rushing towards him, Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed. He did not care about the blinding light that blocked his vision. In the next moment, he suddenly moved. A terrifying aura burst out. His legs seemed to contain an endless amount of power. As he stomped on the ground, the explosive power caused his speed to increase dramatically. He quickly dodged to the side and easily dodged the sword. At the same time, he faced the violent fist. Go back to where you came from. Yi Tianyun aimed at Lin Li's stomach. Bang! Lin Li was sent flying. The long sword in his hand fell to the ground. Whether it was speed or strength, he was far behind Yi Tianyun. The gap between the two was too big. Yi Tianyun was at the 8th level of Spirit Core stage, while Lin Li was only at the Core Condensation stage. You only have this little strength? Yi Tianyun looked at Lin Li who was lying on the ground. Bastard, go to hell! Lin Li roared. He jumped from the ground and punched towards Yi Tianyun. The violent fist wind rolled up a cyclone and attacked Yi Tianyun. But no matter how violent the wind was, it was not as strong as Yi Tianyun's wind. Go away! Yi Tianyun swung his fist and smashed it towards Lin Li, bang! Lin Li was sent flying again, and with a crack sound, Lin Li's arm was completely destroyed. Aw! Lin Li screamed and grabbed his broken arm. The intense pain made him break out in a cold sweat, and he couldn't stop at all. Chapter 199. Yi Tianyun looked coldly at Lin Li, who was lying on the ground. Lin Li was in so much pain that he was drenched in cold sweat, and his face was twisted. But he did not have the slightest bit of pity, only anger. Today, if he had not returned faster, if he had not been stronger, Yue and the rest would have been in danger. Didn't you want to fight me one-on-one? Get up! Yi Tianyun shouted, the anger in his heart had not diminished at all. Lin Li was beaten half to death, how could he easily get up? His face was pale. His face was full of humiliation, but more than that, fear. He did not expect Yi Tianyun's strength to be so terrifying. If he knew, he would definitely not have fought with Yi Tianyun. Your strength, how can it be so strong? His throat was a little dry, and his voice became extremely unpleasant. Yi Tianyun did not answer him. He took 2 steps forward and grabbed Lin Li's other arm, saying coldly, you wanted to use this arm to hit people just now, then don't take it anymore. Then he twisted it fiercely, and this arm was completely crippled. Lin Li screamed in pain. Another arm was crippled, and now he was no different from a cripple. Kill me, divine inscription manner will make you regret it. Lin Li shouted. He knew that it was useless for him to beg for mercy. Yi Tianyun would definitely kill him. Don't worry, if divine inscription manner provokes me, I will flatten them all the same. Yi Tianyun said coldly. Flatten divine inscription manner, ha ha ha. With just you and that helper. Ha, you are too naive. Do you think our divine inscription manner only has this little ability? Lin Li shouted, his tone full of mockery. Whether I can or not, we will know after we try. Even if I can't flatten them for now, I have a lot of time. Yi Tianyun raised his hand, and a flame suddenly appeared from the side. It was the inextinguishable fire. The extreme flames appeared at the side, and the high temperature completely dispelled the cold air in the cave. You. Facing the fear of death, Lin Li's body trembled. In the end, I'll let you die under these flames. If there's an afterlife, don't go against me. You'll die miserably. Yi Tianyun waved his hand and immediately released a terrifying inextinguishable flame, which burned towards them. Even if I turn into a ferocious ghost, I won't let you off. Lin Li roared. Turn into a ferocious ghost. Do it if you can. I'm not afraid of ferocious ghosts. Yi Tianyun sneered. With a shriek, Lin Li was killed, but he did not turn into a so-called menacing ghost. Instead, he was completely destroyed. Ding, successfully killed Lin Li. Reward, 170. 000 EXP, 2400 Crazy Point, 500 Divine Rune Mastery. Obtained Martial Arts Sky Cloud Palm, Earth Level Lower Grade. Reward, Divine Rune Paper, High Grade, 1 Inner Energy Pill. Sure enough, killing those who could inscribe divine inscriptions would allow one to gain proficiency in these divine inscriptions. If he killed his way to the Divine Rune Mansion, it would be easy for him to earn proficiency in these divine inscriptions. Of course, he only hoped that the Divine Rune Mansion would not provoke him, otherwise, he wouldn't mind washing the Divine Rune Mansion with blood. Immediately, Yi Tianyun's eyes turned cold. He didn't even bother to look at the corpses. He turned around and walked outside. Elder Yi, thank you for saving us this time. Yi Yuxuan and the others followed Yi Tianyun out. They were very grateful. No, this time I dragged you down. I almost made an irreversible mistake. The anger in Yi Tianyun's heart still hasn't dissipated. He allowed the other party to attack him, but his friends, what does this mean? Encountering this kind of situation, his heart is extremely angry. His only bottom line was completely destroyed, then the price that comes with it is not something that can be easily erased. It's okay, as long as we're okay. They felt very relieved, but also very worried. Yi Yue knows that Yi Tianyun is very strong, but she is still worried that he will be restrained. Especially when he was being used as a hostage. If he obediently surrendered, only death awaited him. Of course I will come, this is my responsibility, I will definitely come. Yi Tianyun said in a low voice, then go back now, this time no one will cause trouble for you, I plan to go somewhere first. Yi Yue looked at his cold eyes, her delicate body can't help but tremble, but she still nodded and said, okay, then I will wait for your return at the inn, and, Miss Ren, you go back with them, wait for my news. Yi Tianyun's eyes are cold, this time he will act alone. Got it, brother. Renjiro nodded, very obedient. Soon after, they quickly left. After they left, Yi Tianyun summoned his pet black dragon, and quickly flew towards the Wang family, his speed suddenly rising to the limit. He doesn't know where the Wang family is, but he roughly knows where it is. If he doesn't completely destroy the Wang family, he will not be able to calm the anger in his heart. At the same time, the situation in the Wang family also changed. What is the situation on Lin Li's side? Did he kill that kid? If he is left alive, it will be a big trouble in the future. Wang family head frowned, he hoped that Lin Li did not make any mistakes. This time we sent Elder Wang Qing, I don't believe that kid can escape from the palm of his hand. Elder Wang Xiaohua who is next to him sneered. Of course, even Elder Wang Qing is sent, it is like killing a chicken with a butcher's knife. Wang family head's eyes are cold, as long as there is in front of me, and as long as there is in front of me, I will eliminate them all, including the Zhu family. Just as they were thinking about this, a loud bang suddenly came from outside, followed by screams of pain. They hurriedly stood up and asked, what is going on outside? Let's go out and have a look. The Wang family head had a bad premonition and ran out with Elder Wang. When he brought them out of the room, he saw a sea of fire outside. The sky was filled with flames that covered a large area of the Feng family, and screams could be heard from all directions. Many disciples of the Feng family quickly ran outside, and when they came into contact with the fire, they were instantly burned to ashes, unable to resist the terrifying fire. What is going on? They all stared with their eyes wide open. How did the Wang family land in a sea of fire in the blink of an eye? They were all stunned by the scene, and the fire did not look like an ordinary fire at all, but an extremely terrifying and powerful fire. Then, a guard rushed in from outside, wiped the cold sweat off his forehead, and reported, "Family head, there is a person outside, with a black dragon killing in." Chapter 200. The terrifying black dragon shocked them. Although the Wang family was restless, they would not provoke a powerful sect. After all, it was an act of seeking death. They would not do such a thing. "Let's go and see what's going on." They hastily rushed out and discovered that one of the guards was sent flying by a kick. With a loud bang, the guard was stuck on the wall and vomited blood. "Master of the Wang family, where do you want to go?" At this time, a young man looked at them coldly. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. He was like a god of death. There was a huge black dragon beside him, spewing fire in all directions. In the distance, there was a sea of fire. It seemed that more than half of the area had been destroyed. This was the Wang family's territory. It was not a branch of the Star Pavilion. They did not live in the Star Pavilion. They lived in a mansion outside. Therefore, there was no need to go to the Star Pavilion's branch to kill them. Without a doubt, the young man in front of them was Yi Tianyun. He came with the black dragon without hesitation. He even changed his face. The black dragon did not have to worry about being recognized. It was fine as long as he was not recognized. He did not care whether the other party was from the Star Pavilion or not. Those who provoked him must die. He regarded himself as a potential threat. Then, he would also treat his opponent as a potential threat. He would eliminate them completely. When the Wang family head saw them, his heart sank. He was panic-stricken. He did not know when he had provoked such a terrifying force. Moreover, he looked so young. It was beyond their expectations. The key was that they had never seen him before. "I am the Wang family head. May I know how our Wang family has offended you, my friend?" The Wang family head's face darkened. Even if he was a powerful force, he should not have attacked the Wang family without any explanation. "I have offended too much." Yi Tianyun did not want to talk nonsense with him. He controlled the black dragon and rushed forward. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of the Wang family head. He waved his sharp claws and pounced on him. Yi Tianyun's immortal fire swept down and quickly locked on the Wang family head. "I don't care which faction you're from. Since you're covering your face, don't blame us for being rude." The Wang family's master shouted and his Spirit Core Stage 6th layer Spirit Core Stage cultivation burst out. He took out a soul spear and stabbed it at the black dragon. The black dragon didn't even try to dodge. Instead, he continued to pounce forward. Clang! The sharp spear did not manage to pierce through the black dragon. Instead, it sent the Wang family head flying. However, at the same time that he was sent flying, the sharp claws of the black dragon had already slashed down viciously. The terrifying might of a divine beast was unleashed at this moment. Boom! By the time the Wang family head came back to his senses and tried to defend himself, it was already too late. He didn't have any weapons to defend himself, so he could only raise his arms to block the sharp claws. At the same time, he retreated. Swoosh! A large piece of flesh on his arm was torn off. The Wang family head screamed in pain and quickly retreated. His whole arm was almost torn off. Blood continued to drip from the wound and fell all over the ground. Wang Xiaohua, who was next to the Wang family head, exclaimed. He also didn't stay idle. He quickly burst out his strongest strength, reaching the level of 3rd level spirit core stage, and quickly helped to resist the black dragon. But a figure had already rushed over and hit this side heavily. With a bang, Wang Xiaohua was knocked out. His arms were numb and he almost couldn't resist it. What a strong physique, just pure strength alone is already so strong. Wang Xiaohua was deeply shocked by this strength, the other party's physique was too strong. It was just the beginning, but the two of them were completely forced to retreat. The Wang family had almost lost one of his arms. However, even if he wasn't injured, he would still be abused. Quick! Call for backup. Patriarch Wang quickly took out a jade pendant. Just as he was about to crush it, the black dragon let out a furious roar and pounced forward. It streaked through the air at an astonishing speed, leaving a black streak of light in its wake. Bang! The black dragon hit the Wang family head heavily. It was such a simple and violent move, but the Wang family head couldn't resist it. After being hit, the black dragon opened its mouth and spat out flames, which quickly covered the Wang family head's body. In the blink of an eye, the Wang family head was covered by the flames. The severe pain made him scream. He kept rolling on the floor, trying to extinguish the flames, but it was useless. This was the flame of a 5th level spirit core stage black dragon. How could it be so easy to extinguish it? At least he would be burned for a while. Wang Xiaohua was also not much better. He was crazily attacked by Yi Tianyun. He was not afraid of any attack at all. His body was like a shield. No matter how many attacks were launched, it would have no effect. Bang bang bang. The moment Wang Xiaohua couldn't resist, he was hit by several punches in a row. Then Wang Xiaohua was hit and flew out. A large part of his body was dented. He was seriously injured. In the blink of an eye, both of them were seriously injured. Wang family head. At that moment, a few of the elders rushed back. Before the Wang family head was sent flying, he had crushed the jade pendant to summon the elders who were in secluded meditation. When they saw what was happening, they were all shocked. Kill them. The Wang family head had recovered from the flames, but his body was already burnt black. He was seriously injured and couldn't move. The cultivation of these elders was not high, they were only at the 1st or 2nd level of spirit core stage, it was really not enough to deal with them. Kill me. Let's see if you are qualified to do so. Yi Tianyun controlled the black dragon and rushed forward. This time, he didn't hold back and punched the elders. With a bang, an elder was directly blasted flying, smashing into a distant house, and then there was not the slightest movement from him. Then, he punched out again, and the elder on the other side was sent flying again. His body exploded, and he was instantly killed. In just a few punches, they were easily killed. Ding, successfully killed Wang family elder. Reward, 140. 000 EXP, 3100 Crazy Point, 30 SPs, 500 Divine Rune Mastery. Obtained Martial Art Yellow Heaven Palm. Obtained item Divine Rune Paper, high grade. Ding, successfully killed Wang family elder. Reward, 1500. 000 EXP, 3200 Crazy Point, 35 SPs, 500 Divine Rune Mastery. Messages popped up one after another, proving that he had killed all these elders. He was ruthless and didn't hold back. Originally, he didn't want to pay attention to the Wang family. After all, in the Divine Rune competition, he didn't use any ruthless moves, so he didn't have a good impression of the Wang family. Chapter 201. After killing those elders, Yi Tianyun walked towards Wang family head step by step. His eyes were cold and emotionless. You, who exactly are you? When did our Wang clan offend you? The Wang clan leader climbed up, his eyes filled with anger and unwillingness. The Wang clan that he had built up with his own hands was gone just like that. How could he be willing to accept this? Although it was a part of the Star Pavilion, it was only a part of it. If it was destroyed, it would be completely over. They would be kicked out of the Star Pavilion. The surrounding was already a sea of fire. No matter how many people came, they would die. He was just a butcher. The Wang family was completely finished. They were destroyed by this man and divine beast. It was so easy and effortless. Especially the flame of the black dragon, it was enough to suppress everything here. Yi Tianyun walked towards them step by step. He squinted at him and said, "When did you offend me?" "Just 2 words, Lin Li. Do you understand?" "Lin Li offended you?" Wang family head was startled. He immediately cursed, This Lin Li is not a member of our Wang family. Did you kill the wrong person? He is from the Divine Rune Manor. He has nothing to do with us. This is the Star Pavilion. Do you know about the Star Pavilion?" He cursed. If it was really Lin Li who provoked them, then he would hate Lin Li to death. He made such an enemy for himself and caused the Wang family to be destroyed. No, Lin Li is just one of them. There is another pair of brothers. One is Wang Qing and the other is Wang Shui. Do you understand? Yi Tianyun said coldly. Elder Wang Qing. Wang family head's pupils shrank. He said with a trembling voice, You are that guy's protector." "No, it's me." Yi Tianyun took off the 100 transformation mask and revealed his young face. "It's you." Wang family head's eyes widened. He spat out a mouthful of blood. He was completely shocked by this information. No matter how he thought, he would never think that it would be Yi Tianyun who came to kill him. Not only was his talent in divine runes amazing, but he also had such terrifying power. "That's right, it's me. You didn't expect this, right?" Yi Tianyun sneered as he walked over. "Sending people to arrest me, and even kidnapping my people to threaten me. How dare you? Right now, I'll slaughter your entire Wang family and let you know who you shouldn't provoke. Don't act recklessly. I am the head of the Star Pavilion. If you kill me, the Star Pavilion will not let you off." The Star Pavilion was his last straw, and he hoped that it could scare the other party away. Little did they know that the more they did this, the angrier Yi Tianyun became. No matter what kind of background they had, it was meaningless to him. No matter what kind of power it was, as long as they provoked him, he would kill them all. "Who do you think will recognize me like this?" Yi Tianyun put back on the 100 transformation mask and immediately turned into a different person. You. When the Wang family head saw this, he was a little speechless. He really couldn't tell at all. It looked way too real. After his heart was filled with rage, he vomited blood and fainted, completely losing consciousness. He was already seriously injured, and after being stimulated by the information, he fainted. Xiong! Yi Tianyun threw out the immortal fire, which enveloped the Wang family head and quickly burned him. Then, he died. He couldn't be any more dead. There wasn't even the slightest bit of breath left. Elder Wang Xiaohua on the side was also killed by Yi Tianyun. Ding, successfully killed Wang family head, gained 270,000 EXP, 3600 crazy point, 1000 divine rune mastery, 100 SPS. Obtained cloud wave palm, heavenly wind fist. Obtained divine rune paper, high grade, 100k EXP pill. Ding, successfully killed Wang family elder, gained, Yi Tianyun easily killed them, and gained a lot of EXP, which was all in crazy mode. He can't miss this opportunity. As long as he can get EXP, he will not be stingy with crazy mode. It seems that I have to hurry, or else the support will come, it will be troublesome. Yi Tianyun is not afraid of those who come to support, but he is too lazy to care about those who have no grievances with him. Immediately after, he began to plunder their storage rings, as well as the treasures in front of them. He took them all. He is too short of resources now. he needs to find a lot of resources. In this way, he can make the sect stronger, otherwise, the third grade sect is still far away. This main quest is not easy. Very quickly, he finished his search. When he came out, he turned around and used the phoenix wings. He didn't need the black dragon to fly on his own. Very quickly, he disappeared into the horizon, leaving behind a sea of flames in the Wang clan. From now on, the Wang family was completely destroyed. Although it can still be rebuilt, it will be impossible to restore to the original level without decades or hundreds of years. Not long after he left, the support immediately arrived. A lot of Spirit Core experts quickly rushed over, but when they saw the sea of fire, they were dumbfounded. What's going on? How long has it been? Even the Wang family head can't resist it. All of the elders rushed over, and when they saw that the Wang family head and the others had been burnt to a crisp, they were all shocked. This fire is so strong, it seems that it is not an ordinary fire. Could it be that the person who killed the Wang family head is an alchemist or a blacksmith? They all frowned, thinking that this matter is not simple, but they don't know what kind of force the Wang family head provoked. This is not clear, we can only report it truthfully. It seems that the Wang family is finished. I don't know what kind of force he provoked, knowing that we are the Star Pavilion, but still dared to do this. It seems that the other party should not be simple. Is it the Imperial Force? The Imperial Force? This is possible, but why did the Wang family head provoke the Imperial Force? Isn't he seeking his own death? They all shook their heads, not knowing the situation. They can only choose to go back for the time being. The Wang family head has been completely obliterated, they can only go back to report. Soon, the news that the Wang family head was destroyed spread quickly, shocking many forces. This is equivalent to directly slapping the face of the Star Pavilion. How can they not be angry? For this reason, the Star Pavilion quickly issued a wanted order, according to the information from all sides, immediately locked onto the criminal. Wanted order: the criminal is about 26 years old, cultivation is unknown, has the Black Dragon Divine Beast. Anyone who can provide information will get a third-grade medicinal pill. Anyone who personally captures the criminal will get a high-grade soul tool, a 5th-grade medicinal pill, and 1,000,000 gold. Be sure to capture the criminal alive, do not kill him. Chapter 202. After Yi Tianyun destroyed the Wang family, he quickly returned to the inn. This time, he did not get kidnapped again. The Wang family was the only one that Yi Tianyun had a grudge against. So, after the Wang family was eradicated, no one would cause trouble for them. Elder Yi, are you alright? They looked at Yi Tianyun from head to toe, their eyes full of worry. Although Yi Tianyun did not say where he was going, they could imagine what Yi Tianyun was going to do. What could happen to me? Yi Tianyun smiled and looked around, but Renjiro wasn't in the room. Where is Miss Ren? Yi Tianyun asked in surprise. Miss Ren is standing outside. I don't know what she is thinking about. She keeps mumbling something. Yi Yue said, pointing in the direction of the balcony. Yi Tianyun nodded and walked to the balcony. Renjiro looked into the distance, but Yi Tianyun didn't know what she was looking for. Miss Ren, what are you thinking about? Yi Tianyun asked with a smile. I remembered something. When I was fighting just now, I remembered something. I remembered where my home is. Renjiro did not turn her head to look at him. She just looked into the distance. You remember? Yi Tianyun smiled. Then you finally know that I am not your brother, right? Well, I remember something. You are not my brother. Renjiro smiled brightly. She turned to look at him and said, but I still feel that you are very close. You are like my brother. This time, my brother did not wait for me to wake up. I don't know what happened. Yi Tianyun nodded and guessed, it is very likely that something happened. The secret room has not been cleaned for a long time. Obviously, no one has been here for a long time. Well, then I should go back. I vaguely remember something and know what I should do. Renjiro turned her head and looked into the distance. It's getting late, I should leave. Thank you for taking care of me these past few days. Are you leaving just like that? Tianyun paused for a moment before he asked, do you need my help? There's no need. Some things are better dealt with by myself. Renjiro smiled brightly and said, brother, I'll be going now. If fate wills it, we will meet again. After saying that, she leaped up and an invisible pair of wings unfurled from her back, bringing her up into the sky. In the blink of an eye, she disappeared into the horizon. This was the power of a core transformation stage cultivator. They could condense their own energy into a pair of spiritual wings, which allowed them to fly. She was at the 5th level of the core transformation stage. She was even stronger than the old ancestor of the Qing Xian mansion. One could imagine what kind of power she belonged to. Ding! Successfully activated Hidden Chain Quest, help the Empire's Goddess, reward, 50 million EXP, 1 million Crazy Point, 200 Renjiro's favorability, Imperial Guardian Goddess title. Tianyun was startled by the quest that popped up. Renjiro is the Empire's Goddess? But thinking about it carefully, it's not surprising that she's the Empire's Goddess. The reward is also very generous. This is the second time he encountered a quest that could change the world. Obviously, the level of the Empire's quest is even more amazing. He doesn't know if he can participate in it or not. That's why it's specially marked, saying that he can choose whether to help or not. If he participates, it will not only affect the world, but also affect his own situation. It was like helping Yi Qingxian meant that he would have to contend with the Netherworld Empire. Obviously, this would affect his own strength. If he just saves her, it may change the world. As long as he doesn't participate, he won't be in danger. The Empire's Goddess. No wonder she rejected me. She probably thinks that I can't help her at all. Tianyun shook his head and returned to his room. Yue and the others looked at Tianyun and asked, what happened to Renjiro? She already went back. Tianyun smiled and said, it's time for us to go back to Heavenly Jade's sect. Let's send you two back first. They all nodded. They knew that Tianyun had a lot of things to do. If they followed him, they would be a burden. It would be best for them to go back to Heavenly Jade's sect. Immediately, Tianyun walked out with them. Along the way, there was a lot of noise from the people around them. Then they saw that there was a gold wanted poster on the side. It meant that the reward was very high. This Wang family is gone. Although they were prepared for this, they were still shocked. Especially when they saw the word Black Dragon. Their hearts skipped a beat. They knew that their elder had gone to destroy the Wang family. In order to avenge them, the entire Wang family was wiped out. They were so touched that they didn't know what to say. Yushuan finally saw how powerful Tianyun was. It didn't take him long to destroy the Wang family. Let's go, there's nothing to see. Tianyun smiled, as if it had nothing to do with him. He led them out of Heavenly New City. When they came to the suburbs, Tianyun hugged them. This action scared them. Elder Yi is taking advantage of us. Their faces were red, but they didn't struggle. After all, Tianyun saved them and gave them freedom. So what if he took advantage of them? But they misunderstood. Tianyun didn't think much of it. He said, hold on tight, we're going to fly back. What? Suddenly, Tianyun stepped on the ground, and the phoenix wings behind him trembled, and in the blink of an eye, he disappeared into the sky. He didn't ride the black dragon. Instead, he used the phoenix wings and quickly flew back to Heavenly Jade's sect. The black dragon was now on the wanted list, so to be on the safe side, he used the phoenix wings to fly. Elder Yi, you can fly. Have you broken through to the core transformation stage? They are deeply shocked, only those who can fly are able to break through to core transformation stage. This means that Yi Tianyun reached core transformation stage at such a young age. It is incredible. Not at the moment. Yi Tianyun said with a smile. Hold on tight, we will soon return to Heavenly Jade Sect. Just be patient. The two of them looked at each other and couldn't help but chuckle. Previously, they thought that Yi Tianyun was flirting with them, but now it seems that it wasn't the case at all. Yi Tianyun flew them back with him. Chapter 203. Under the lead of Yi Tianyun, they quickly returned to Heavenly Jade Sect. The speed of the phoenix wings is not much slower than the speed of the black dragon. However, to be able to unleash the true power of the phoenix wings, one must be at least at the core transformation stage. Now it can only fly, but it doesn't increase the speed. But if it is used on a core transformation stage cultivator, it will be 3 times faster. Their flying speed will be amazing. Here we are. Yi Tianyun put them down and walked into Heavenly Jade Sect. Heavenly Jade Sect looks the same as before. On the contrary, there are more disciples than before. Elder Yi, Elder Zhu. When they saw Yi Tianyun and Yi Yue, they all called out to them. From now on, you can just call me Elder Yu. If you all call me Elder Yi, it will be confusing. Yi Yue chuckled. She already used Yi Tianyun's surname. If they call each other like before, it will be easy to confuse them. Okay, Elder Yu. They didn't think too much about it and changed the way they address each other. Yi Tianyun shook his head. It's up to them, but since the Zhu family chose to abandon them, then they don't need to use the surname Zhu anymore. It's just that it's a bit embarrassing to use his surname. Z is also good. Of course, it's up to them. Yi Tianyun doesn't want to interfere too much. When they went in, Shi Shuayun came out and smiled when she saw Yi Tianyun. You're back. I'm back. Yi Tianyun smiled and introduced, this is Elder Zhu. No, she already used my surname. Anyway, this is her sister Yi Yuxuan. Greetings, Palace Master. Yi Yuxuan bowed slightly and said respectfully. Don't be too restrained, just be casual here. Shi Shuayun smiled at Yi Yuxuan, then turned to Yi Tianyun and said, aren't you going to tell me about the situation? Shortly after, Yi Tianyun explained to Shi Shuayun. Yi Yue and the others also explained to him, and only then did Shi Shuayun understand the process. It was a little messy to have the names change back and forth. But when he thought about the reason, it was understandable. That's about it. And, I plan to let her become an elder of Jade's sect, but I'm afraid there will be some objections, so she should start as a deacon first, and when she has established her prestige, she will become an elder. Yi Tianyun of course didn't get this treatment just because she is Yi Yue's sister. He knew that Yi Yuxuan wasn't weak. If she didn't have any power, she wouldn't be able to help. Elder Yi, there is no need for that, I just want to help my sister, I don't want to have any status here, I am already very happy that Heavenly Jade Sect is willing to take me in. Yi Yuxuan said this from the bottom of her heart. She doesn't want to have any status here, she is very touched that Heavenly Jade Sect is willing to take her in. Don't talk nonsense, as long as you have the ability, I will give you what you deserve. Shi Shuayun smiled and said. Then it's decided, let's start with the deacon position. Thank you, Palace Lord. Yi Yuxuan's beautiful eyes twinkled. She naturally doesn't mind becoming a deacon, she will definitely do her best. After the arrangement, Shi Shuayun rolled her eyes at him and snorted. You are quite capable, every time you come back, you always bring back a woman, and they are all very talented. It seems that you are quite good at abducting people, why didn't I see it before? This. Aunt, don't make it sound so bad, how did I abduct them? Yi Tianyun said helplessly. Humph. Shi Shuayun reached out and knocked his head, smiled and said, but it's good that you can come back, don't ask for anything, it's enough that you can come back safely. Yi Tianyun nodded and immediately said in surprise. Aunt, you broke through. In a blink of an eye, Shi Xuan actually broke through to Spirit Core stage. This speed is really monstrous. Isn't that for sure? If I don't break through quickly, wouldn't I be letting down the title of Palace Lord? Shi Xuan smiled. Don't put too much pressure on yourself, I am here. Yi Tianyun said worriedly. Even if I have you, I still have to become stronger, otherwise how can I support the whole Heavenly Jade sect? Shi Xuan smiled. You can't just rely on yourself, how can the whole Heavenly Jade sect be strong? During this period of time, the situation has improved a lot, many disciples have broken through, it seems that it won't take too long to reach the top level of second-grade faction. Yi Tianyun nodded, and immediately remembered something. He took out a few storage rings and said, "These are the spoils of war I got from outside, Aunt, take them and distribute them as you see fit." I don't know much about these things. He took out the storage ring and the treasures he looted from the Wang family and gave them to Shi Xuan. Although some of these things can be sold for a good amount of crazy points, he still chose to hand them over. The most important thing now is to make the whole Heavenly Jade sect stronger. After Shi Xuan took the storage ring, she didn't look at what is inside, instead, she stared at him. What's wrong, don't you want to see what is inside? Yi Tianyun motioned her to take a look. There are a lot of good things inside. Silly. Shi Xuan gently hugged him as if she was hugging a child, but in fact, Yi Tianyun's body is bigger than her. You are too hard-working, it's nothing, as long as it's for Heavenly Jade sect, for Aunt, everything is worth it. Yi Tianyun reached out and gently hugged Shi Xuan, his eyes flashed, even if there are a lot of women around him, for him, Shi Xuan is worth it. It seems that you have completely grown up, you are no longer the Tianyun who needs my protection. Shi Xuan came out of his arms and smiled. Isn't that natural? I will definitely grow up, in the future, I will be the one to protect you. Yi Tianyun smiled. After a simple exchange, the two immediately went to do their own things. There are a lot of things that need to be done, so the time to communicate is still relatively limited. Yi Tianyun came to the gate, ready to start repairing the 5th-level defensive array. Master, are you going to repair this 5th-level defensive array? Old Xian suddenly appeared at this time. Is there a problem? Yi Tianyun smiled. If the repair fails, it is easy to cause problems, so, when Old Xian spoke, Yi Tianyun has almost repaired the array. After completely repaired, he looked up and said, if the repair fails, it is easy to cause problems. What kind of problems? Chapter 204. After Yi Tianyun repaired the 5th-grade Great Array, the situation of the entire heavens immersing ancient ruins has been greatly improved, especially the defensive array of the gate, it has been completely strengthened. Very good. I didn't expect that after the repair, unless a core transformation stage cultivator came, otherwise, no one can break it. Yi Tianyun was shocked by this effect. Core transformation stage cultivators can't break it, but it's not impossible, it would take at least a few years to break it. If you want to break this defense, you need to be at least a core transformation stage cultivator to break it, and it will take a long time to break it. It's worthy of being the great array that Spirit King Xian Tian invited. If it was restored to its original state, ordinary core transformation stage cultivators wouldn't be able to break it. Finally, this defensive array is repaired. Even if I am not here for a long time, this place will be safe. Yi Tianyun nodded, he felt a lot more at ease. Old Xian who was next to him was stunned. The entire defensive array of the heavens immersing ancient ruins has been repaired, the only thing left is the flying array. If a divine rune master were to repair it, then the entire heavens immersing ancient ruins would no longer be an ancient ruins, but a heavens immersing shrine. Master, you really can repair this array, I couldn't repair it before. Although Old Xian created it, he still has a little bit of knowledge. According to the knowledge he has, it is absolutely incredible that Yi Tianyun can repair this defensive array at such a young age. Even the previous master did not have this kind of ability, he didn't have much talent in divine rune engraving, he had to ask someone to help him. I can do it with a little practice. Yi Tianyun smiled. Okay, old Xian was immediately speechless. He felt that this is really incredible. After the repair, Yi Tianyun stayed in Heavenly Jade's sect for a few days. He found that the sect was well managed, the disciples were quickly trained, the number of spirit refinement stage disciples suddenly increased a lot. Even the number of core condensation stage disciples increased a lot. Everything was developing in a positive direction. If this continued, a large rank 2 faction would develop just like that. However, it was still too far away from a third-grade force. It needed a lot of spirit core cultivators. Currently, there were only 2 of them, one was Yi Tianyun and the other was Shi Xueyun. It seems like there are no problems here. Under their management, there won't be any problems. Yi Tianyun wasn't an expert in this aspect, so he could only watch from the side. While he was walking around the Jade sect, he suddenly saw Jiu Lingyun sitting in a cultivation room with a divine rune brush in her hand. Inscribing divine runes requires patience and concentration. Jiu Lingyun was teaching everyone in front of her. She taught the newbies every stroke, teaching them how to get started. Currently, Jiu Lingyun was already capable of handling matters independently. Her attainments in the Tao of Divine Inscriptions had already reached the level of a second-grade Divine Inscriptionist. This was all thanks to Yi Yue. She had specially strengthened each disciple's situation and tailored their specialties according to their situation. Those who were good at inscribing divine runes were arranged to come here. Yi Tianyun nodded and didn't disturb them. It was the same for the other cultivation rooms. They were all used to nurture other disciples, developing them in an all-round manner. It's time to leave. He was going to Heaven's top mansion alone. He had planned to go to Heaven's top mansion before, but he had delayed it long enough. Especially since the General Pavilion had invited him to attend the VIP banquet. He was in a rush. After saying goodbye to Shi Xueyun, Yi Tianyun equipped the phoenix wings and quickly left for the direction of Heaven's top mansion. The area where Heaven's top mansion was located was not far. After asking for directions, he quickly went there. After almost 2 days of rushing, he finally arrived at the main hall of Heaven's top mansion. Finally arrived at Heaven's top mansion. Yi Tianyun looked at the magnificent building in front of him and couldn't help but nod. The foundation of Heaven's top mansion was very good. Just the gate alone looked very imposing. After all, it was a third-grade force. As for why it declined, it was said that the internal resources were empty, and the disciples didn't have many breakthroughs, which led to a sharp decline in popularity. From the looks of it, it might be a golden jade on the outside, but the inside would probably be more ordinary. Who are you? When he was about to go in, the disciple outside immediately stopped him. I'm looking for Miss He Qianhan. Yi Tianyun said. Do you have a recommendation token? The disciple asked. Yes. Yi Tianyun took out the token, and after the disciple saw it, he nodded. Well, you can go directly to the Heavenly Rune Palace to register. After walking for a while, turn left and you will see it. The disciple immediately let Yi Tianyun in. When he walked in, the disciple outside shook his head again. Deacon, he went to recommend another disciple? I don't know what kind of trash it is this time. If it's like the previous one, then it's really unfortunate. Forget it, Deacon, he is also doing this for the good of Heaven's top mansion. I'm afraid that she will recommend some garbage. Yi Tianyun's ears moved. Does He Qianhan often recommend disciples? After walking through a long corridor, he officially entered the inner hall. When he just arrived, there were many disciples coming and going. A few of them are at least 5th level spirit refinement realm. Those with a higher cultivation base were generally not bad. When these disciples saw Yi Tianyun, they just glanced at him and ignored him. Yi Tianyun didn't bother to pay attention to them. After walking for a while, he saw the Heavenly Rune Palace. There are many disciples coming and going. After entering, there are many disciples in the Heavenly Rune Palace, all of them are accepting tasks. In fact, This is the task hall, an area for accepting tasks. There is a task point for accepting tasks, and the level of the task will naturally be higher, and the reward will naturally be higher. Heaven's top mansion will not raise a group of lazy disciples. Every month, they have to do some tasks. If they don't meet the requirements, they will be punished. In this case, it is a sustainable development path for the sect. But he didn't come here to choose a task, but to look for someone. He glanced in front of him and saw the person reporting to him, then he took the token and walked over. But when he just walked over there, he suddenly froze, because the person who handed over the token is none other than the woman he saved before, Yang Shishue. However, he quickly made up his mind and gave the token to Yang Shishue. This is the token that deacon he gave me. She told me to look for her. Yi Tianyun said as he handed the token to Deacon He. Deacon He recommended you. Yang Shishue glanced at it casually. She didn't look at it carefully, but looked up at him for a while and said in amazement, "So young? What's the problem?" Yi Tianyun asked. "There is no problem, I just think that you are too young. Why would Deacon He recommend a young man?" She stood up and said, her voice was almost pitiful, but he still heard it. "Let's go, I will take you to the assessment." "What, assessment?" Yi Tianyun was stunned. He came here to look for someone, not an assessment. Chapter 205. You don't even know about the assessment. Didn't Deacon He tell you that she recommended you to take the assessment? Then you can join Heavenly Rune Pavilion, a place dedicated to practicing divine runes. Yang Shishue looked at him in confusion. Of course, he knew about this. The problem was that he didn't come to take the assessment, but to see He Qianhan. Is Deacon He here? Yi Tianyun asked. Deacon He hasn't come back yet. If you want to find her, you will have to wait for a while. But it's useless to find her. If you can't pass the assessment, you can't join Heavenly Rune Pavilion. Yang Shishue frowned and said, I'm going back to Heavenly Rune Pavilion, so I can take you to the assessment. If you pass the assessment, you have to call me senior sister. Yang Shishue's beautiful lips curved into a smile, and the serious feeling suddenly disappeared. Senior sister. Yi Tianyun looked at Yang Shishue from head to toe. It's a bit funny that she became his senior sister. Well, I'll go with senior sister. Yi Tianyun thought for a moment and immediately changed his mind. Originally, he wanted to report his identity, but after thinking about it, he decided not to. It's better to go with her to see the situation here. He wanted to see the internal situation of Heaven's top mansion. After you pass the assessment, you can call me that. Yang Shishue's face became serious again. Thinking that the boy in front of her hasn't passed the assessment yet, it's better to maintain a serious expression. Yi Tianyun shrugged helplessly and let Yang Shishue do as she pleases. Anyway, it's just a greeting. Immediately, Yang Shishue took him to Heavenly Rune Pavilion. After a circle, they walked to the back of the mountain. In front of them, there was a dense forest. It looked very ordinary. Shishue, what are you doing? At this time, two young men appeared from behind and stared at Yi Tianyun beside Yang Shishue as if they were looking at a rival in love. This name alone made Yi Tianyun feel a bit strange. Yang Shishue frowned and corrected them. Please don't call me that intimately, so as not to cause a misunderstanding. You are my fiancé, why can't I call you that? Feng Yulong squinted his eyes and smiled, but when he looked at Yi Tianyun who was standing beside Yang Shishue, he showed a disgusted expression, as if he had just swallowed a fly. Feng Yulong, let me warn you, this was decided by father and the others. It has nothing to do with me, unless you surpass me in terms of inscribing divine runes. For me, I will only marry a man who is stronger than me, and not a man who is weaker than me. Yang Shishue's eyes were ice cold. She was very unhappy with Feng Yulong. At the side, Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. This woman really had a goal. But what she said was pretty good. If the man was weaker than her, what right did he have to marry her? This made him understand Yang Shishue's temperament. A cold glint flashed past Feng Yulong's eyes, but he had to admit that he was weaker than Yang Shishue in all aspects. This is the decision of the two families. Do you think it is the right decision to tear apart the relationship between the two families? Feng Yulong sneered, I advise you to think about this carefully. Speaking of which, what's up with this brat? Why are you together with him? Men couldn't conquer women. When he saw the woman standing together with another man, the flames of jealousy in his heart rose higher and higher. I, Yang Shishue, mean what I say. We will talk about it when you are stronger than me. Yang Shishue indifferently said, he is a new junior brother recommended by Deacon He. He is preparing to undergo the test. If there are no problems, you guys can leave. Someone recommended by Deacon He. Feng Yulong and the others looked at Yi Tianyun, sizing him up. They were somewhat doubtful. Are you sure you are not mistaken? Feng Yulong sneered, he is too young. His level is definitely not that great. It would be strange if he could pass through the maze. I suspect that he is a fake. I don't know where he found the token. Let's seize the opportunity and bring him to the law enforcement hall. That's right. Since when did the Heavenly Rune Pavilion have such a young disciple? I also suspect that he is a fake. He is dressed so shabbily, I suspect that he is here to steal. Feng Yulong's companion, Liao Wen, agreed with Feng Yulong's words. One had to admit that Yi Tianyun's clothes were indeed shabbily dressed. Compared to the luxurious clothes they were wearing, it was tens of thousands of miles apart. I don't want to get involved in your matters. I just want to hurry up with the test. At your age, you might not be able to do it, but that doesn't mean others can't. There is always someone better than you. Yi Tianyun was innocently implicated. What did this have to do with him? Even he, who was standing at the side, was dragged into this mess. He was truly speechless. Your tone is quite arrogant. Does that mean you can definitely pass through the maze? Feng Yulong's gaze turned cold as he sneered, judging from your level, you will definitely be trapped in there for the rest of your life, right? If you can get out within an hour, I will walk upside down in the future. Big brother Feng is right. If he can get out, I will use my head to walk for the rest of my life. Liao Wen added. Their words weren't without reason. Those who could cultivate divine runes were all disciples of large clans. Yi Tianyun didn't have the demeanor of a young master from a large clan. It was more likely that he was a refugee from a village. Very good. From now on, I will see you walking upside down when I go out, and he will use his head to walk. Yi Tianyun turned to Yang Shishue and said indifferently, the test you are talking about is to pass through this maze? That's right. As long as you pass through it, it doesn't matter how long it takes. But the longer it takes, the lower the score. Yang Shishue didn't finish her explanation. Yi Tianyun turned around and walked into the forest, quickly disappearing into it. Big brother Feng, this kid is too arrogant. He speaks as if he can pass through it easily. Liao Wen said angrily, let's go and see when he can get out of the maze. After saying that, the two of them walked into the maze together. Yang Shishue followed and disappeared into the maze. At the same time, Yi Tianyun, who was the first to enter the maze, was separated from Yang Shishue and the others. Because he was already in the maze. Only by breaking this maze could he get out. Using this as the entrance was really unique. Every time he entered, he had to break this maze. But after getting used to it, it would be very easy. Maze forest? It seems like there is such a thing, but it's still too low. In front of a 5th grade divine rune master, it's really not enough. Yi Tianyun shook his head. He didn't care about this maze at all. Chapter 206. After Yi Tianyun found the exit, he lifted his foot and walked out of the exit. The first thing that entered his eyes was an extremely beautiful environment. Regardless of the ornaments of the fake mountains or the trees, they were all very meticulous. They looked like a single entity, and it was extremely comfortable. This was the Heavenly Rune Pavilion, a place that focused on cultivating divine runes. This was the benefit of being in a large sect. With a large number of disciples of different levels would appear. This way, it would be easy to separate them into factions. If only one person could inscribe divine runes, it would be impossible to separate them. That would be a waste of resources. Are you new? Please show me your identity token. When the guards at the entrance saw Yi Tianyun, they were startled because he was too young. However, they wouldn't chase him away. Everything was done according to the rules. All he had to do was show his identity token. Regardless of whether he was familiar or unfamiliar, he had to show his identity token. Identity token. This is my identity token. Yi Tianyun took out the token He Qianhan gave him and said, "This is my token. I wonder if it's okay. This isn't a disciple token. This is a recommendation token. It seems to be recommended by attendant He. Wait, there seems to be something wrong with this token. It doesn't seem to be a recommendation token." Just as the guards were about to take a closer look, a few figures walked out of the maze forest, attracting their attention. Why are you here? At this moment, Feng Yulong and the rest had just walked in. When they saw Yi Tianyun standing in front of them, they were stunned. Soon after, Yang Shishue walked out, and when she saw Yi Tianyun, she was instantly dumbfounded. This speed was simply too fast. It was much faster than them. They often walked out of the maze forest, but every time they entered it, there would be slight changes. Hence, every time they entered, the time would be different. This could be considered a kind of training. They didn't expect Yi Tianyun to be faster than them on his first try. Wasn't he a monster? The exit is right here. Why can't I be here? Am I supposed to go around? Yi Tianyun looked at Liaowen indifferently and said, "Speaking of which, you have to use your head to walk in the future. I am looking forward to this martial art being carried forward by you." As the old saying went, he didn't mind stepping on their faces. Since they dared to say such things, they should be waiting for the time when their faces would be slapped. This is impossible, you must have cheated. Liaowen didn't believe in Yi Tianyun's words. He had never seen anyone who could enter for the first time so quickly. Then tell me, how do I cheat? Yi Tianyun narrowed his eyes. He was very interested to hear how the other party would say that he cheated. Yi Tianyun looked at Liaowen with great interest. He wanted to hear how he would accuse him of cheating. You've been here before," Liaowen said after thinking for a while. "Is that so? I've been here before, how come I don't even know?" Yi Tianyun indifferently said, "Why don't you say that I'm a disciple of the Heavenly Rune Pavilion and that I've been here before?" As expected, your head is only used to walk. Liaowen's face turned red. He pointed at Yi Tianyun in anger, but he didn't know what to say to refute. They all knew who the disciples of the Heavenly Rune Pavilion were. These guards must have seen who had entered before. To put it bluntly, Liaowen just didn't want to admit it. Yi Tianyun really came in, and his speed was even faster than them. This time, Liaowen had to use his head to walk. You're saying that this is his first time here, and his speed is even faster than you guys? The guards at the side understood what Liaowen meant. They were all shocked. Wasn't this a little too exaggerated? This was the first time he came in, and his speed was even faster than Yang Shishue and the others. They were ranked at the top here, but he was still faster than them. Wasn't this heaven-defying? Moreover, he looked so young. This was simply terrifying. Yes, he's even faster than us. Yang Shishue looked at Yi Tianyun with a complicated gaze. It seems like the person recommended by attendant he isn't as weak as before. He can't even pass the maze. The content of the maze was mental energy and perception. Although the difficulty wasn't too high, it definitely wouldn't be easy. At the very least, it wouldn't be the kind that could be passed in just one round. One would have to put in some effort. They didn't expect Yi Tianyun to pass so quickly. This greatly exceeded their expectations. I wonder if I passed the test. Yi Tianyun smiled. Of course, there's no problem. Yang Shishua smiled. Moreover, you're very outstanding. Welcome to the Heavenly Rune Pavilion. Back then, when she first came in, she had to spend several hours before she could pass. But now, Yi Tianyun easily defeated her. The difference was too great. You have some ability, but your tone is too arrogant. Feng Yulong coldly snorted. He turned around and left with Liao Wen. When he passed by Yi Tianyun, he coldly said, "In the Heavenly Rune Pavilion, this level isn't enough. You better be careful. Don't touch things you shouldn't touch, or I'll make you regret it for the rest of your life." He was warning Yi Tianyun not to get too close to Yang Shishue. Otherwise, he would deal with Yi Tianyun. However, Yi Tianyun wasn't interested in her. He was just unhappy with her threatening words. Who did she think she was? Wait a minute, you didn't walk backwards. Also, you didn't walk with your head. It's time to fulfill your promise. Yi Tianyun didn't mind exposing their previous promise. Now, it seemed like it was nothing more than a fart. Do you want to die? Feng Yulong's gaze was ice cold. Previously, he only looked down on Yi Tianyun. Who would have thought that Yi Tianyun would actually pass in 2 hours? Moreover, he was so much faster than them. Feng Yulong, you don't even have this little bit of magnanimity. Moreover, these words were said by you guys just now. Yang Shishue felt somewhat dissatisfied when she saw how Feng Yulong threatened Yi Tianyun. She wasn't related to Yi Tianyun, but she was very unhappy with Feng Yulong's arrogance. She didn't like Feng Yulong because he was too arrogant and didn't know how to restrain himself. He was extremely possessive and competitive. Whoever provoked him, he wouldn't rest until they were dead. Oh, you're still protecting this trash. Feng Yulong shook his head. His eyes were filled with flames as he coldly laughed. Don't worry, I won't do anything to him. This is the Heavenly Rune Pavilion, not a mountain village. You can't randomly duel. I know what I'm doing. These words made Yi Tianyun frown. The situation in the sect was rather bad. It seemed like there were disciples from other clans joining them. In a situation where they weren't united, the entire sect had no future to speak of. Chapter 207. What can I say? Feng Yulong sneered. What can I say? If I want to say it, what can you do to me? Do you have the ability to duel with me? No, I just want to say that since you made a promise, you should fulfill it. Yi Tianyun said indifferently, for me, there are some words that cannot be said casually. Oh, it seems that you are quite arrogant. If you have the ability, then let's duel now. Feng Yulong immediately became angry. He did not expect this new disciple to be so arrogant. No problem, we can start now, you can start first. Yi Tianyun said with a gesture of invitation. Good, good, good. Feng Yulong sneered 3 times. Then, he quickly waved his palm and slapped down with his strongest strength. He slapped directly at his opponent's head, not holding back at all. If he is hit, even if he doesn't die, he will become an idiot. Pa! But Yi Tianyun's palm was faster than him, and he slapped Feng Yulong hard. Feng Yulong was sent flying and rolled forward dozens of times before stopping. At this time, his mouth was swollen, and many of his teeth were broken. This scene made everyone stunned. Although Feng Yulong's cultivation is not very strong, but he is at least at 7th level spirit refinement, and he was sent flying by a slap. Doesn't this mean that the boy in front of them is stronger than Feng Yulong? Feng Yulong was slapped by Yi Tianyun's hand, and he didn't know where he was. Feng Yulong's head immediately tilted, and he fainted. This slap was not light, but it was not heavy, at least it didn't kill him. If he didn't hold back, Feng Yulong's head would have been smashed by his slap. You dare to hit Brother Feng. Liao Wen rushed over to help Feng Yulong, pointed at Yi Tianyun and said, "You will die miserably." "Oh, I'll wait," Yi Tianyun said indifferently. After Feng Yulong was taken away, Yang Shishue said in shock, You hit him. This way, the Feng family will come looking for trouble with you. Also, there are many of his friends in the Heavenly Rune Pavilion. It's fine. No matter how many of them come at me, I'll take them on, Yi Tianyun said calmly. This is all my fault. Because of me, this happened to you. I will deal with this matter. Yang Shishue's expression was solemn. This matter was definitely related to her. If it wasn't for her, Feng Yulong naturally wouldn't have mocked Yi Tianyun. If something happened to Yi Tianyun because of her, she would never forgive herself. It's okay, I don't care. Yi Tianyun shook his head. He didn't care about Feng Yulong at all. He had seen too many people like him. It seemed like it was a misunderstanding that caused him trouble, but with his arrogant attitude, no matter who he faced, he would cause trouble. No wonder there weren't any new disciples joining. With just this group of beasts, how many newcomers wouldn't be scared away by them? Even if they weren't scared away, their legs would be broken. Even if Yang Shishue wasn't present, he believed that Feng Yulong would find trouble with him later. With Feng Yulong's character, as long as there was a little threat, he would eliminate them as enemies. As long as there was competition, this kind of thing would happen. Immediately, Yang Shishue led him into Heavenly Rune Pavilion and began to arrange his residence. She also handed him an identity token. It was engraved with his name and where he belonged. In the entire Heaven's top mansion, there were identity tokens. These identity tokens were made by Heavenly Rune Pavilion and could not be counterfeited. If it was lost, it would be troublesome. An official disciple would become an outer disciple. This was a sect's representative. If it was lost, he would be severely punished. After everything was done, Yang Shishue went to do her own things. She was not familiar with Yi Tianyun, so there was no need for her to stay here. Previously, Yi Tianyun was wearing a mask, so Yang Shishue didn't know about him, so they didn't talk much. If Yi Tianyun was wearing that mask, she would definitely be scared. Yi Tianyun didn't stay here for a while, so he went out of the room. He didn't really want to become a disciple here, he just wanted to see the overall situation. At least he didn't have a good impression of Feng Yulong when he first came in. It was really a case of a mouse spoiling a pot of soup. If there were more arrogant disciples like Feng Yulong, then this sect would be really unfortunate. Competition was a good thing, but this kind of competition was vicious. If a person was ruthless in a duel, then he would be half crippled. After coming out, Yi Tianyun found that the surrounding people were looking at him. Some of them were looking at him strangely, most of them didn't believe him. Hey, boss, I heard that the first time you came in, you broke a record and also severely beat Feng Yulong. It's really amazing. I didn't like that guy for a long time, you really had a good time beating him. At this time, a youth flashed from the side, rubbed his hands and smiled. His smile was quite amiable. Yi Tianyun wasn't surprised by this. Feng Yulong and the others definitely wouldn't say anything, but the mouths of the guards wouldn't be idle. They would definitely spread the news everywhere. All of a sudden, the entire Heavenly Pattern Pavilion knew about it, causing them to be extremely shocked. They even doubted the authenticity of the news. They suspected that this was Yi Tianyun's first time here, but that didn't mean that he couldn't practice outside. After all, this maze forest wasn't a very difficult formation. It was just a little simulation outside. However, some believed it, some didn't believe it, but none of them had any intention of coming over to chat. He had provoked Feng Yulong. It should be said that he had ruthlessly beaten up Feng Yulong. This wasn't something that could be easily resolved. Feng Yulong had a very high status here. His level wasn't bad, so naturally, No one dared to talk to him or befriend him. However, this young man wasn't afraid. He directly came over to talk to him, as if he was an acquaintance. I think someone should have broken this record before, right? Lee Tianyun didn't think that his speed was really the limit. There is indeed someone faster than you. However, your age is at least in the top 3. You look too young. Tell me, how old are you this year? The fatty asked. He wasn't surprised by the fatty's answer. There were many geniuses, so it wasn't surprising that someone could leave faster. Those who were younger than him were also not surprising. Those who were born as monsters, their mental strength talent was terrifying. I'm 17 years old this year, almost 18. Lee Tianyun thought for a moment, that was the approximate age. Good boy, your bone age is only 17 years old. The young man rubbed his palms and said excitedly, I almost forgot to introduce myself. My name is Yang Yu, and I'm ranked 83 in the Heavenly Pattern Pavilion. We all know your name, Lee Tianyun, it's really a good name. Lee Tianyun didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This Yang Yu was really familiar with him, but he was very interested in this ranking. I wonder what my current rank is? Lee Tianyun asked. We'll know when we go to the plaza. Come with me. Yang Yu brought Lee Tianyun to the plaza. Here, he saw a stone tablet with many wooden plates hanging on it. All of them were names. Lee Tianyun glanced over and saw his name hanging on the 81st place, a few places higher than Yang Yu. There weren't many people in the entire Heavenly Pattern Pavilion. In total, there were only 133 people. He was in the limelight, but he was only ranked 81st. This ranking was very important. It was related to the resources one could obtain. The maze array test was the ranking test. The higher the ranking, the more resources one would obtain. Therefore, everyone was fighting for this ranking. Of course, this didn't mean much to him. Even if he was ranked first, it was a matter of course for him. 5th grade Divine Rune Master, who here could have this rank? He just came in and strolled around. Chapter 208. 81st, huh? That's a little low. Lee Tianyun was still not satisfied. He thought he could be higher, but he was still at the back. Although he didn't care much about this ranking and didn't plan to become a disciple here, it was indeed a little low for him to only be ranked 81st with his speed. Boss, you still think it's low? Yang Yu showed a smile that was uglier than crying and almost knelt down. I've been here for so long, and I'm only ranked 83rd. You still think it's low? I'm already much higher than others, okay? At least I'm not at the bottom. Lee Tianyun knew the rules of the ranking. If the ranking was determined by breaking through the maze quickly, it would be unfair for him to be ranked first. This was a comprehensive test. Just based on breaking through the maze, he was ranked 81st. It wasn't because he was strong, but because he had great potential. That was why he was ranked 81st, I'm just saying. Lee Tianyun smiled indifferently. Others don't dare to approach me. It's probably because of Feng Yulong. But you dare to approach me. What's your purpose? He glanced at the ranking on the stone tablet. Feng Yulong was ranked 30th, and Yang Shishue was ranked 22nd. It seemed that their rankings were quite high. Yang Shishue rejected Feng Yulong. Now it seemed that he had the capital to be ranked 23rd among so many geniuses. It was a shocking standard. I don't have any purpose. I just want to get to know you. He rubbed his palms and chuckled. It seemed that his motive was simple. If you don't want to say it, I won't force you. If there's nothing else, I'll leave first. You can wander around by yourself. Lee Tianyun didn't pay attention to him. He turned and walked out. Wait, I'll say it. Yang Yu was afraid of Lee Tianyun. He wouldn't eat anything. Oh, tell me. Lee Tianyun smiled faintly. Actually, I have a grudge against Feng Yulong, but I can't beat him. You can torture him ruthlessly. This is really to my liking. Yang Yu smiled. Let's be friends, I know everything about Heavenly Rune Pavilion and even the entire Heaven's Top Mansion. If you have any questions, you can ask me. Looks like you're quite knowledgeable about information. Yi Tianyun's interest was piqued. Of course, there's no one in the entire Heaven's Top Mansion that I don't know. I even know what's going on outside. Our Yang family collects information. Whatever you want to know, I can find out for you. Yang Yu smiled confidently. What's your relationship with Yang Shishue? Yi Tianyun asked. She's my sister. Yang Yu smiled and said, that Feng Yulong isn't worthy of being my brother-in-law. Moreover, the Feng family is becoming more and more arrogant. Their relationship with our family is getting worse. It would be best if you could beat him up. But you have to be careful, the Feng family will definitely not let you go, and the other people in Heavenly Rune Pavilion will not let you go. I can't help much. But I will tell you all the information, whether it's the escape route, who will have a grudge against you, or who will come to deal with you. I will tell you in advance. This was a perfect friend to provide information, but it didn't mean much to him. That's not necessary, I know what I'm doing. In the face of his absolute power, all schemes and plots were trash. You're that confident? Yang Yu was shocked. His words were really full of himself. It's okay. Yi Tianyun smiled and said, by the way, where can I find some good geniuses here? This. Go to Tianhun Tower. You can find good geniuses in Tianhun Tower. Do you want to fight with them? Yang Yu was shocked. No, I'm just going to walk around. Yi Tianyun smiled and said, I'm going to Tianhun Tower now, do you want to come with me? Yes, of course I'm going. Yang Yu seemed to smell something. What he didn't know was that Yi Tianyun was going to see if there were any geniuses worth poaching. Then, the two of them walked into Heavenly Rune Pavilion. Soon, they arrived at the Tianhun Tower in Heavenly Rune Pavilion. Since Heavenly Rune Pavilion had a high status, there would be good resources here. The Tianhun Tower was one of them. The entire Tianhun Tower had a total of 5 levels. The higher the level, the more spiritual energy was needed. Correspondingly, the effects of cultivation would be stronger and stronger. Not only could it cultivate spiritual energy, but it could also increase one's cultivation. It could be said to be a double improvement. However, there was a time limit. Depending on the ranking, the number of days would vary. As Yi Tianyun had just joined, he would be given an additional number of days. But it wouldn't be too much, about 5 more days. Combined with his ranking, it would add up to 10 days, which wasn't much at all. This is the Tianhun Tower. It's really impressive. Yi Tianyun looked up and saw that the towering divine tower was made of a special profound heavenly stone, which locked the spiritual power inside, making it airtight. Except for the door in front of him, there was no other exit. After he walked in, he immediately felt a heavy pressure on his head. He didn't even go upstairs, but he already felt the pressure on his head, through the thick xiantian, pressing on his body. This pressure is really good. It's a good place for those with low cultivation. Yi Tianyun nodded. The Heaven's Top Mansion's foundation was really not bad. Although it had declined, it was still not weak. A good place for cultivation could be said to be twice the result with half the effort. It was the magic weapon for those with low talent to catch up with those with high talent. Of course, Tianhun Tower is an excellent place for us to cultivate. It's just that it's a bit restrictive. If you don't have enough days, you can't enter at all. Yang Yu said with pity. My days have already been used up. Otherwise, I would go in with you to cultivate. After going in, he saw an old man sitting on the side. Yang Yu smiled and said, Deacon Huang, we are here to cultivate. Without waiting for Yi Tianyun to say anything, Yang Yu went over to greet him. Immediately, Yi Tianyun took out the identity token and handed it over. If he wanted to go up to cultivate, he needed this identity token. The old man who was sitting leisurely to the side took the identity token and glanced at him indifferently. He said with a smile, "You're the newcomer who has caused quite a stir recently. You've created quite a good record as soon as you arrived, and your talent is not bad. This is quite interesting. Which floor do you want to cultivate on?" "The 5th floor." Yi Tianyun didn't think much and directly chose the highest floor. Chapter 209. Not to mention Yang Yu, even the yellow-faced deacon was stunned when he mentioned the 5th floor. The 5th level? Deacon Huang was startled and then smiled. "You're really ambitious. You dare to challenge the 5th level without experiencing the effects of the other levels. Only the top 30 can go to the 5th level and persist. Are you sure you want to do this? If you go down, the days will be counted. Not only will you be embarrassed, but you'll also lose days. Thank you for your advice, Deacon Huang. I want to go to the 5th level and stay for 10 days. Yi Tianyun smiled. What? 10 days? Deacon Huang's eyes widened and looked at Yi Tianyun as if he was an idiot. Are you sure you want to do this? To be able to stay on the 5th floor for 10 days, only the top 15 can do it. He knew that Yi Tianyun's spiritual energy talent was good, but choosing the highest difficulty level right after coming here was not rational enough. If he chose one day, he would just bet all the days. If he couldn't persist, it would all be wasted. I'm sure I want to do this. Yi Tianyun's eyes were firm. Deacon Huang shook his head and sighed. He was only a guard and would not interfere with the choice. After all, sometimes making a wrong choice was a kind of improvement. He hoped to learn from his mistakes. This was what he said to Yi Tianyun. All right, I've recorded it. All your days have been cleared. Go to the 5th level. If you can't persist, come down. You can't go to the other levels, Deacon Huang reminded. He could only stay on the level he chose in the Heavenly Soul Tower. This was not very humane, but the rules were set. He could only stay on this level and couldn't go to the other levels. The decision was simple. It was the amulet. Once he fainted during cultivation, the amulet would shatter and protect him. Then, he would be teleported down. Different levels had different amulets. They were not suitable for each other. After all, they were not the same in strength. In addition, the amulet could also gather spiritual energy. In other words, if he went in and took out the amulet, he would become the target of attacks. There would be a constant stream of spiritual energy attacks. Without this, there was no point in entering the 5th floor. As for the talismans and whatnot, they were not allowed to change either. They had to be responsible for their own choices. Who told them to choose so many in one go? Oh my God, boss, aren't you a little too daring? The 5th floor is the privilege of the top 25. Once you enter, you'll be blasted unconscious. Are you sure you want to go? Yang Yu quickly recovered and hurriedly advised. Of course. Otherwise, why would I think you're here to play? Yi Tianyun shook his head. Why don't you try the 3rd level first? I think this is more suitable for you, or the 4th level. Hey, don't go. Even if it's the 5th level, just experience it for a day. Why do you have to spend so many days in one go? We're done for. Yang Yu kept trying to persuade Yi Tianyun. He believed that Yi Tianyun wouldn't be able to last that long. If he fainted, it would be a loss. Is that so? If I were to faint, then I'd be overestimating myself. Yi Tianyun knew that he was being kind, but he knew his own level even better. How could a spirit core cultivator faint here? What a joke. Yi Tianyun took the talisman and went straight to the 5th floor. Through the winding stairs, he quickly arrived at the 5th floor. The higher he went, the greater the pressure. Even if there was a big formation at the door, there would still be some fluctuations coming from inside. When he arrived at the 5th floor, he stood at the door and saw a few scattered people meditating in various places on the 5th floor. Without hesitation, Yi Tianyun lifted his feet and walked inside. Yang Yu stayed outside to watch. When he came in, he immediately felt a pressure coming from all directions. After he chose a position, he took out the talisman and poured spiritual power into it. A terrifying spiritual power immediately rushed over. Of course, for him, it didn't mean anything at all. He only felt a buzzing sound in his head, and it began to be washed by the spiritual power. However, the effect was slightly worse. It didn't improve his spiritual power at all. It could only be regarded as an itch. However, there was one obvious improvement, and that was the experience. With the impact of the spiritual power, there was also a stream of pure spiritual power that continuously penetrated into his body. This was like using the spiritual power impact to penetrate into his body in one fell swoop, helping him to absorb the spiritual power, 300 EXP, 350 EXP, 340 EXP. This cultivation site was for spirit refinement realm cultivators, so it was destined to not have an explosive experience effect, so he didn't even have the idea of activating crazy mode. It's really a good cultivation place. If I can put the divine runes of this Tianhun Tower in the heavens immersing ancient ruins, I can have a special cultivation place. This is very suitable for disciples who practice divine runes. Yi Tianyun was very satisfied with this place, not because of the effect, but because of the function here. He can take it back to the heavens immersing ancient ruins to carve it. Although he has the memory of the spirit race, some divine runes are not suitable for carving. Because the divine runes of the spirit race are too overbearing, even the worst divine runes can only be used by core condensation cultivators. This kind of weakened version for training new disciples, on the contrary, is not in the memory. This gives him a great reference value. If he can learn it, then carve it in the heavens immersing ancient ruins, then it will be a brand new cultivation place. At the same time, he also observed the situation around to see if there are any good disciples here. Looking up, he immediately saw an acquaintance meditating here, that is Yang Shishue. It seems that she wanted to leave before, in order to return to the Tianhun Tower to cultivate. This is the 5th floor. Yang Shishue was shocked. Yi Tianyun has only been here for a few days, he must not have adapted to the other floors, so he chose to come to the 5th floor. As soon as Yi Tianyun came in, many people noticed him, including Yang Shishue. A fellow disciple who just came to the Tianhun Tower not long ago actually came to the 5th floor. Is he not afraid of death? After he came in, a group of people instantly exploded. Many people looked at him with strange eyes, some felt disdain, thinking that Yi Tianyun is overestimating himself. Is this the new disciple who is in the limelight recently? This courage is not small, directly coming to the 5th floor. I bet he will get out of here in less than a day. A day? I think at most half a day. I don't know how many days he booked. If it is too much, then he is an idiot. The people who are talking about the top 30 powerhouses, they all shook their heads. They are not optimistic about Yi Tianyun. How can he be so arrogant after defeating Feng Yulong in the future? You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.